Chapter 2400. Black and golden blood flowed in his body. Du Xiaofu felt a strange sensation as if his body was being refined. His organs, bones, muscles, and everything else were transforming and strengthening. Du Xiaofu was immersed in this strange state. Only the golden and black light enveloped his body. His aura was also soaring. The golden winged rock behind him was changing unpredictably. One moment, it wanted to flap its wings and soar into the sky. The next moment, it looked like it was looking down on all living beings. Then, it turned into talisman runes and rearranged itself. The black fish was also bobbing up and down. It contained the mysteries of the heavens and was incomparably complicated. Whoosh! Whoosh! Inside the stone room, there was a faint rumbling sound. A terrifying aura swept out. It was extremely shocking. If there was an expert who could see everything in this stone room, he would definitely be shocked. Separated by the energy cocoon, Du Xiaofu's body was covered with many golden and black talisman runes. They were intertwined with each other and shone with the brightest light. Gradually, Du Xiaofu entered a strange state again. It was as if he was isolated from the world in this stone room. Inside the stone room, the spirit thunder had calmed down for some reason. Only the energy cocoon was changing unpredictably. Inside the energy cocoon, Du Xiaofu's mind was wandering in the void, soaring between heaven and earth. He was floating up and down in the ancient past, waiting for the day when he would break out of the cocoon and become a butterfly. Inside the sky burial wasteland, all the experts entered. The competition became more and more intense. The Beast Alliance, the human race, and the experts from the outside world began to fight and clash. They were all here for the treasure. The battle was fierce. There were fights everywhere. Blood splattered everywhere. All the major forces were in a frenzy. Even the ancestors of the major forces, be it the human race or the Beast Alliance, had put down their pride and entered the puppet sky burial wasteland to fight for the treasure. There were constant battles. "Don't let the Feng family get the secret bone!" a demon beast shouted. The experts of the Feng family took action to fight for the secret bone. The secret bone was resplendent, and definitely came from the ancient times. It was extraordinary. However, the Feng family had experts who were incomparably powerful. Their light was dazzling and shook the world. Who would dare to fight against them? Kill! There was a handsome young man with lightning flashing on his body. He was Du Tingxian. He had activated his thunder martial vein and sent a group of experts flying. He had snatched a piece of mystic bone. Kill! Not far away, there were beast race and human race experts who were also fighting with their lives on the line. Some experts were fighting against a group of experts. A few huge ferocious beasts were roaring and flapping their wings in the void. Finally, they managed to snatch some benefits. Who dares to stop me? Du Xiaojing's beautiful figure appeared. The treasured sword in her hand swept horizontally. Purple and gold lightning shone resplendently and contained great power. It was as if she was harvesting wheat, and none of the heroes dared to block her. Inside the sky burial deathland, blood flowed like rivers. Many secret zones and cavern dwellings appeared. Experts from various races fought for supremacy, fighting for benefits. Even the Saint Realm experts had bloodshot eyes. Everyone knew that these were the benefits of heaven burial deathly earth, the implications extremely great. All of the benefits came from the archaic era, so if one could obtain them and comprehend them thoroughly, they could quickly rise up, becoming an absolute expert of the present world. Inside the sky burial deathly earth, there were experts fighting and killing everywhere. There were cries and shouts of killing everywhere. It was completely boiling, and it was extremely tragic. Many precious treasures had also appeared. In the end of such a great battle, even Du Tingxian, Du Xiaojing, and some old ancestor-level experts from the Beast Alliance and the human race had suffered heavy injuries. Of course, in such a chaotic battle, there were people who were happy and people who were worried. Some people fought until their heads bled, but they didn't necessarily gain anything. Some people were lucky enough to obtain precious treasures easily. Such a battle continued, and the entire sky burial deathly earth was in a state of chaos. No one knew how many experts had died. There were killings everywhere, and corpses were everywhere. Soon. There's news that the Demon King will be able to enter soon. On a cliff, Moksha, Jialo Jialiao, and Mo Lingzi, and the others were there. Their expressions were slightly serious. I didn't expect that there would be experts among the humans and beasts in this deathly earth. The corner of Moksha's mouth was pale. His injuries weren't light. He had also participated in a few battles and obtained some gains. However, he was also heavily injured by an old ancestor of the human race in this deathly earth. He only managed to escape by throwing out precious treasures. When the Demon Kings enter, they will sweep through everything here. An old man spoke, exuding a terrifying aura. We've received news that there's an unforeseen event in this deathly earth. The restriction on the crack is dissipating. Those experts who had entered this deathly earth before can enter again. On the peak of the mountain, a group of monks was fluctuating with Buddhist light. They were Ninefold Ling, Hongluan, and the others. This isn't good for us. If the restriction on the crack disappears, those experts will be able to enter. At that time, it will only become more chaotic. An old monk's eyes were solemn. They had also obtained some benefits, but at this moment, their expressions were solemn. They didn't dare to act rashly. They knew that the most tragic battle had yet to come. If the restriction on the crack really disappears, many experts, including the demon kings of the devil religion, would enter. At that time, this deathly earth would be even more chaotic. The news was spreading everywhere. Some people were very happy. Long Qianchao Yu Su Shiyu, Shi Hongtu, Su Sanyan, and Hui Wu of the famous clan were all very happy at this moment. If the old ancestor can enter, then Du Xiaofu is dead for sure. Those experts of the Beast Alliance and the human race won't be able to dominate this place anymore, Long Qianchao said, his dragon eyes glowing. They could do whatever they wanted in the outside world, but in this deathly grounds, they could only hide. With their cultivation and strength, they were nothing in this deathly grounds. They even heard that Du Xiaofu, Violet Dragon Emperor, Du Xiaoyao, and Du Tingshuan's strength had skyrocketed. They had to hide from Du Tingxian and the others, afraid that they would fall into their hands. The news that the experts of the outside world could enter this deathly grounds caused an uproar. There's a crack in the sky. There's another world outside our world. The Rock Emperor is from that world. In this deathly grounds, there were also creatures of the human race and the beast race who received the news. This completely caused an uproar in this deathly grounds. Many creatures now knew that there was another world outside. If those experts from the outside world can enter again, they will first obtain all the treasures in this deathly grounds. In the deathly grounds, some experts were no longer calm. They began to plunder, search for caves, and explore secret realms. Rumble! Above a secret realm that was being explored, a huge golden hand wrapped in talisman runes fell from the sky, tearing the void apart and violently grabbing towards it. This is mine! An angry shout was heard. A fist shot up into the sky like a flying dragon. The fist was like a meteorite wrapped in purple chi, colliding with the huge golden hand. Leave the treasures behind! Another super expert came, spreading his wings and covering the 9 heavens. His resplendent wings seemed to have come from the 9 heavens, tearing the void apart and shattering the dome of the sky. The influence of the deathly grounds was too great. The super experts of the major powers couldn't sit still and entered this deathly grounds to fight for the treasures. Why are you so stupid? I would rather die than you. You clearly had a chance to escape. In this vast land, a beautiful woman's cold and enchanting face was covered in tears. Sadness climbed up her cheeks, her eyes were filled with grief. She recalled the tall and straight young man in her mind. How could he be a lecher? He was purposely hiding his true self. He was so pure and cute. If I could turn back time, I would tell you that I like you, I love you. I would choose to die together with you. The beautiful woman murmured. She was thinking that if she could turn back time, she wouldn't hesitate, disregarding everything, letting go of everything. Even if he didn't agree, she would tell him that he was in her heart. Only now did she truly feel that unknowingly, he actually occupied such an important position in her heart. Even if he didn't like her, with so many supreme beauties around him, at the very least, she would be able to die together with him. At the very least, she wouldn't be living alone now. The outside world was too chaotic. But all of this had nothing to do with Du Xiaofu. Regardless of the situation in the outside world, Du Xiaofu was like an immovable mountain in that mysterious stone room, comprehending everything. He basically had no idea what was happening. On the energy cocoon, the black talisman inscriptions had become even more dazzling at an unknown time. It was accompanied by traces of pitch-black halos. The resplendent pitch-black light spread out, and then it was constantly changing and being derived. At this moment, the energy cocoon Hassan was also trembling violently with a majestic aura. The aura spread out, and the bright light of the talisman's secret patterns on the deep dark halo constantly spread out from it. It was like a black demonic sun. The vast aura that pervaded it was as unfathomable as the sea. In front of such an aura, if there was any expert present at this time, their divine soul would tremble. They would feel like an ant in front of an elephant. In this strange state, Du Xiaofu gradually felt that he had completely turned into a big black fish, appearing in a vast and boundless ocean. This ocean seemed to be completely condensed by energy. Its aura made one's heart palpitate. There were no waves, but it was not difficult to feel. The energy contained in this calm ocean was terrifying. Du Xiaofu was like a big black fish bobbing up and down in the ocean, carefully observing it. In the end, he was horrified. There seemed to be countless energies in this energy ocean. There was the power of the spirit, and there was also a vague, strange but palpitating natural energy that made his soul tremble. Feeling such a terrifying aura, Du Xiaofu felt that he was extremely small. So this is what a true expert is like. Du Xiaofu's mind was fluctuating. He was deeply shocked. At this moment, with the energy cocoon around Du Xiaofu as the center, the space in the stone room was also fluctuating. Chi. Chi. Around the energy cocoon, a huge vortex had unknowingly formed. At a terrifying speed, it shrouded the surrounding void. That terrifying energy suddenly erupted. Arg! Du Xiaofu could feel that there was a terrifying energy both inside and outside of his physical body. It was as though a huge vortex had formed around his physical body. The huge vortex was filled with boundless and terrifying energy. Under the tremendous power, Du Xiaofu's face immediately twisted from the intense pain. There was a tremendous power surging within the vortex. Under the golden-winged great ping bird's cultivation technique, it was directly being used by the golden-winged great ping bird. However, the power was far too terrifying. It constantly exceeded what he could bear and wanted to tear apart everything. Under the terrifying energy, Du Xiaofu felt like his body was about to shatter at any time. He wanted to flee. Under the terrifying energy, his soul trembled and his body was torn apart. He had to endure unbearable pain. If he failed, he would be doomed. Do you want to crush me? Devour everything! Instinctively, Du Xiaofu remained stubborn. His soul pulsed, and he smiled viciously. Within the huge vortex of energy, indescribable pain radiated from every part of Du Xiaofu's body. The pain was almost unbearable, but Du Xiaofu managed to hold on through sheer willpower. Refine! Under the intense pain, Du Xiaofu constantly used the cultivation method of the golden-winged rock clan. He began to devour all of the terrifying energy. Whoosh whoosh. As Du Xiaofu refined the cultivation method of the golden-winged rock clan, the energy in the terrifying vortex became more and more terrifying. As if it was being drawn, the energy surged over violently in an attempt to destroy Du Xiaofu. It made Du Xiaofu suffer even more. The pain almost made Du Xiaofu faint again. It was more than enough to demonstrate how terrifying it was. Du Xiaofu forcefully endured the indescribable pain. Over the years, Du Xiaofu had been training by himself. Outsiders had only seen his frightening cultivation speed, but they did not know how many times Du Xiaofu had almost died, and how many times he had lingered in front of the god of death. The birth of an expert was definitely not a coincidence. It was a never-ending pursuit and tempering. The black broken bone in Du Xiaofu's chest and the resplendent black blood also pulsed with pure energy. As Du Xiaofu circulated the cultivation method of the golden winged rock, this energy silently transformed in his body. In the end, it fused with Du Xiaofu's body. Du Xiaofu roared out in pain. The pain became more and more unbearable, as if his body was about to be destroyed. Although Du Xiaofu had circulated the cultivation method of the Golden Winged Rock clan, the energy was far too vast. The speed at which he refined it was nowhere near enough. The energy became more and more violent, surging into his body. Arg! The pain was unbearable for Du Xiaofu, but the terrifying energy was far too vast. Du Xiaofu could not bear it at all. The terrifying energy filled every inch of Du Xiaofu's body. At the same time, it filled the depths of his soul. "I'll refine as much as there is," Du Xiaofu bellowed in his heart. Despite the pain, his heart was extremely strong. What kind of pain had he not experienced before? In a daze, Du Xiaofu had already calmed down in the energy cocoon. His hand seals changed, forming a cultivation hand seal. He sat cross-legged in the whirlpool and began to refine and comprehend the energy. The terrifying energy wreaked havoc in the stone room. The whirlpool howled like a storm, viciously slamming into Du Xiaofu. There were also the figures of the golden winged rock and Kun floating in the air. It was like a miracle. As Du Xiaofu focused on refining the energy, an invisible force seeped out from his body, causing the space around him to slowly distort. Du Xiaofu was once again completely immersed in the special state, ignoring everything in the outside world. At this moment, this state of mind that had always been as firm as a rock played a huge role. All distracting thoughts were blocked outside, and he began to enter a state of selflessness. The terrifying energy storm around the chrysalis was still colliding with Du Xiaofu. The energy contained in this energy storm was indescribable. Wave after wave of collisions continued to hit Du Xiaofu, and the energy spread out in a ring shape. Time began to pass and the aura around Du Xiaofu continued to rise. Du Xiaofu was still in a state of selflessness, allowing the terrifying energy to slam into him. At a certain moment, Du Xiaofu felt something strange. The energy that seeped out from the broken black bone was extremely terrifying at the beginning. However, in the end, Du Xiaofu discovered that the terrifying energy was no longer terrifying after it entered his body. Instead, it was like a spring breeze caressing his face. Afterwards, the energy directly entered his body, causing his body and even his soul to experience an indescribable sense of comfort. The energy immediately spread through his limbs, bones, muscles, and organs after entering his body. It began to fuse with the blood of the golden winged rock. His limbs, bones, muscles, and internal organs were all attached to this energy. Amidst the golden color, a black color gradually appeared, seeping directly into his bones and fusing with his billions of cells. At that moment, Du Xiaofu felt an indescribable feeling throughout his body. The fusion of energy was extremely wondrous, making him feel extremely comfortable. The cultivation method of the golden winged rock circulated scarlet blood. The various types of energy in his body turned into pure profound energy in the end. A tremendous presence of the soul also radiated out. This kind of energy seemed to speed up the circulation of the golden-winged great pink bird's cultivation technique. The energy that covered the sky and earth seemed to be pulled violently as it began to endlessly rush into Du Xiaofu's body. Under the accelerated circulation of the cultivation method of the golden-winged rock, Du Xiaofu's presence immediately rose as he rapidly refined and absorbed the surging energy. Walala! The aura that emanated from Du Xiaofu's body grew stronger and stronger. The surging aura was rising at a rapid speed. The energy was very complex. At that moment, Du Xiaofu did not know where it came from. He only felt that there was the energy of the mysterious black broken bone, as well as a vast amount of external energy. There was even a kind of energy of the heavens and the earth. It was boundless and endless. Du Xiaofu's presence was rising. The shadows of the black fish and the golden-winged rock in the stone room continued to rise and fall for a few days, changing unpredictably and evolving, time passed again. The chaos in the outside world continued. In the burial wasteland, most of the places were dead and withered. In the dim void, the occasional roar of a beast could be heard coming from the distant heavens and earth. In a brown mountain range, there were white bones and broken walls. Whoosh whoosh! At that moment, several figures flashed out of the void and disappeared in an instant, heading straight for the canyon in front. The canyon was calm and there was nothing out of the ordinary. What a bunch of grandsons of the Yao family! You're courting death! Damn it! At that moment, several figures appeared in the air. Their voices reverberated in the square, and a bloody and fierce aura swept out. Who dares to be impudent to the Yao family? Boom! In the canyon, a seal suddenly appeared, and several figures jumped out. The weakest of them was at the domain realm, and their auras were extremely powerful. Remember, Jinqing Chun and the 18 celestial generals of the barren country are here to collect debts. In the air, Jinqing Chun, the child of the holy matrix, had a sinister smile on his wretched face. He looked at the cultivators of the Yao family in front of him with murderous intent and threw out the 6-wheel blood-killing matrix. Many of the Yao family disciples did not even have time to react. They only felt that their bodies were sealed in an instant, and the terrifying aura of the blood-killing array enveloped them. It's them again. They took advantage of the Patriarch's absence to launch a sneak attack on us, shouted an expert from the Yao clan. His expression changed drastically. These people had been ambushed by them some time ago and suffered heavy injuries. In the end, they managed to escape. In the end, these people were like ghosts that refused to disperse, constantly chasing after them. Kill! Yi Piaoling and Qianguyu attacked and started a massacre. Bam! Many of the Yao family disciples were killed instantly. A large area of the surrounding space was instantly distorted and shattered. Some of the weaker Yao family disciples were instantly turned into ashes. A terrifying aura swept out in all directions. Qianguyu and Yi Piaoling attacked, and an overwhelming xianqi swept out and sealed the void. Rumble! Rumble! Several graceful figures appeared. They were Ouyang Shuang, Dai Xingyu, and several huge ferocious beasts, such as the demonic ape, the ice toad, and the ground wolf, appeared. The ground wolf, the demonic ape, and the others continued to attack. They transformed into their true forms and blasted out fist, palm, and claw prints. The mountain suddenly collapsed, the ground cracked, and the earth shook. Bam! 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 Rumble! This huge commotion had long alarmed the surroundings. Many living beings nearby gathered over, and when they saw this scene from afar, they were all tongue-tied. Let's go! The sacred array boy, Jinqing Chun, looked around at the Yao clan members who had been killed. The corners of his mouth curled into a cold smile. His figure flashed, and he disappeared from the spot. Yi Piaoling left behind a cold voice. The barren country is not a place that anyone can offend. Those who offend the barren country will be killed without mercy. Bam! It's the barren country's people. Bam! The barren country's people are really bold. They actually killed the Yao family's experts directly. They're all in the Saint realm, and there's also that Supreme Ant Queen. How terrifying! Rumor has it that the barren country came from the outside world. The Rock Emperor is the Emperor of the barren country. The Supreme Ant Queen is the Rock Emperor's daughter. I heard that the Yao family's experts ambushed these people some time ago. Now they're retaliating. Chapter 2401. I heard that the experts from the Yao family ambushed the experts from the desolate country some time ago. At this moment, many living beings had gathered, and all of them revealed looks of shock. Swoosh! An hour later, an expert descended into the canyon. His aura was vast, and he was enraged when he saw the bloody mist and the corpse fragments on the ground. Desolate country, you are provoking the Yao family. The expert's voice was like thunder and shook the void. He was furious. Inside the stone room, Du Xiaofu was still continuing. As an endless stream of energy from the heavens and earth was drawn into his body, from the initial intense pain to the current wave of vast energy entering his body, it already made his entire body feel indescribably comfortable. The profound energy in his divine gates and the yuan spirit in his Naiwan palace surged, causing Du Xiaofu to feel as if he had gone crazy. At this moment, both the Xian Qi and the primordial spirit in Du Xiaofu's body were surging like a vast ocean. Whoosh! Whoosh! The energy fluctuated and the shadows of the black fish and the golden rock appeared and changed. The vast energy in the stone chamber surged into him, and the entire stone chamber whistled. Du Xiaofu's aura continued to rise and the energy surged endlessly. As the surging energy continued, time passed. Du Xiaofu's aura continued to rise as if it would never reach a peak. The outside world was still in chaos. No one knew when the desolate country's name had spread in the heaven burial wasteland. Many experts had been killed, including the Yao family, the Ji family, the distant Sky Flame Phoenix clan and other large clans. Anyone who had offended the desolate country would be hunted down and robbed of everything they had. This news seemed to have grown wings and spread with the wind. It was like a bomb had exploded in the heaven burial wasteland. Such a shocking commotion caused the experts in the Sky Burial Wasteland to discuss fervently. They never expected that the Beast Alliance and the Human Clan, such as the Ji Clan, the Yao Clan, and the distant Sky Flame Phoenix Clan, would be suppressed by a desolate country from the outside world. After the news spread, the barren country's name became famous. Many pieces of news were spread, some were true, some were false. The most shocking news was that the mysterious Great Rock Emperor was from the barren country, and he was the Emperor of the barren country. In the secret realm, in the void, various talisman runes flashed. Roar. Translator, Naibo's Studio Editor, Naibo's Studio Editor, Naibo's Studio of the Desolate Country of Dragons. A dragon's roar, dragons, crimson gold, red dragon revealed its true form. It flapping its wings, Phoenix clan in it. It was a dragon's rock, dragons was. Whoosh. Whoosh. The scales all over the body of this crimson gold unique dragon were currently emitting a flowing light. Every scale was absorbing this enormous invisible natural energy. Both of its wings were covered by a 7-colored divine flame. On its ferocious head, the third vertical demonic large eye suddenly opened at this moment. A powerful aura also suddenly surged out from its body in all directions. Rumble. As the aura burst out, the dragon suddenly soared into the sky. At the same time, it brought with it an absolute pressure. At this moment, the entire secret realm was trembling under the powerful aura. A powerful aura shook the space, and ripples spread out in the air. A power that could shake one's soul spread out. What a powerful pressure. Wow! Not far away, a golden-clothed youth's golden spirit eyes were also trembling. At this moment, under the frightening dragon's might, he felt a frightening pressure spreading out. Under the shroud of this pressure, he was also greatly affected. About an hour later, the huge body of the crimson gold variant dragon emitted a power that could distort even space. After a while, its closed eyes opened abruptly. 3 of its eyes appeared at the same time, and it let out a roar with its head held high. Roar. This roar was like a dragon's roar that shook the 9 heavens. It's really strong. Roar. At this moment, the golden-clothed young man's eyes trembled under the pressure. He felt helpless and muttered softly, "The benefits of the secret realm that I risked my life to find have been taken by this girl. Is there any justice in this world?" Above the void, the crimson gold dragon's body was shining with crimson gold. Its wings, which were hundreds of feet long, were like the wings of a phoenix. Blazing rainbow flames spread out from its wings. Starlight flowed on the surface of its body. There was also the aura of the golden-winged rock and a frightening sovereign aura that swept across the sky, causing the entire void to tremble. After a while, the crimson gold dragon's aura gradually calmed down. Only the crimson gold dragon's eyes were filled with golden flames, as if they contained 2 vast golden seas of fire. A frightening, strange, and complicated pressure descended from its body into the void. Roar. A dragon's roar resounded and the sound waves rolled. At this moment, the aura of the crimson gold dragon had once again stepped into a frightening realm. It was soaring as if it was sitting on a rocket. When the dragon's roar fell, the golden flames around the crimson gold dragon's body were extinguished. The dazzling light converged and a small figure slowly appeared in the eyes of the golden-clothed young man. Little Xingxing turned into his human form and was floating in the air. "Father, I will find you." Little Xingxing clenched his small fists tightly. Golden flames flickered in Little Xingxing's eyes, revealing a noble aura that could not be concealed. The light golden mark between his eyebrows was like a vertical eye, appearing mysterious and enchanting. Later stage Sacred Beast Realm. "Do you still want others to live? What a monster!" The golden-clothed young man appeared out of nowhere, and rolled his eyes at Little Xingxing. The corners of his mouth curled into a displeased arc, but there was also joy in it. "Hee, you have also gained some benefits. It's just that you haven't broken through yet." Little Xingxing looked at Du Xiao and chuckled. This time, he had gained great benefits. He had to thank Du Xiao's talent for allowing him to break through directly. Du Xiao felt very aggrieved when she said this. Who could make such an abnormal breakthrough? This was the Sacred Beast Realm. However, this little monster had broken through as if no one could stop him. It was too terrifying. Phew! Phew! Little Xingxing stretched his small body and exhaled a mouthful of turbid air from his mouth. A valiant aura also faintly fluctuated from his body. Compared to before, his aura was undoubtedly much more valiant. The vibrating spatial ripples spread out. "Monster! Phew!" Du Xiaoyao was already speechless. She simply ignored him. This guy had gotten most of the benefits that she had gained. "Let's go and find your father," Du Xiao said. She didn't want to stay with this little monster anymore. She would only be angrier if she continued to stay with him. Whoosh whoosh! Two figures broke through the sky and left, disappearing into the void. In a huge mountain range, there were overlapping mountains that seemed to stretch to the end of the sky. Many broken walls and ruins could be seen faintly. The sky was dusky and the air was mixed with a thick smell of blood. Outside the broken walls, one could see the majestic winding city walls, like a winding dragon circling around. It could be seen how majestic this huge building was at that time. There were many figures in a dilapidated ancient palace. They were Long Qianchao, Hui Wu, Shihongtu, Shiyu, and others. "Those people from the desolate country are getting stronger." Long Qianchao's face was gloomy. From the news that had spread recently, those people from the desolate country had reached a terrifying level. Those reckless guys. They have made such a big move this time and dared to provoke so many forces here. I'm afraid that they will anger the Yao family, Ji family, and the Flame Phoenix clan. They are digging their own graves, Su Sanyan said. Hui Wu's brows were tightly knitted as he paced back and forth twice. Then, he placed his palm on the table. His expression kept changing as he muttered. "No matter what, the desolate country's threat is getting bigger and bigger. If this goes on, I'm afraid that once we leave this place, we won't be able to stop the desolate country. Didn't you say that the seal on the crack outside is about to disappear? Will the experts from the various clans be able to enter again?" Shihongtu asked. "It should be soon. Perhaps some experts have already entered," Su Sanyan said with a cold look in his eyes. "Once the experts from the various clans enter, we can't let the desolate country continue like this. We have to kill them immediately." Within the stone room, under the majestic energy, the aura that spread out from Du Xiaofu's body slowly strengthened. Wave after wave of vast and mighty energy spread out from his body like waves, causing his aura to rise and swell. Huff huff. Huff huff. At this moment, the majestic energy around Du Xiaofu continued to pour in. Under the violent surge of energy, Du Xiaofu's aura had reached the peak of the later stage of the Sage Realm. His aura continued to increase. The process of increase was extremely fast. He was about to break through to the later stage of the Sage Realm. In fact, one could even feel the rising aura with their own eyes. This was a fatal temptation for any cultivator. If a living being were to witness such a terrifying breakthrough in the Sage Realm at this moment, Their view of the sage realm as a breakthrough was as difficult as ascending to the heavens, would collapse immediately. The majestic energy continued to pour in. This energy was too large. It was formed from countless natural treasures and countless sacred medicines. The energy contained in the broken black bone was also very terrifying. Gradually, Du Xiaofu's aura began to climb towards a certain peak. Unknowingly, the spatial ripples in the stone room began to fluctuate, and a golden-black mysterious rune light burst forth, blooming with dazzling mysterious rune light. As time passed, the golden-black mysterious rune light around Du Xiaofu's body became more and more intense. His purple-gold skin also gradually emitted light. Boom! In the stone room, the energy of heaven and earth spread out from nowhere and became extremely turbulent. The invisible energy of heaven and earth rapidly condensed and formed a huge energy vortex in the air above the stone room. Finally, it poured into the energy cocoon and rushed into Du Xiaofu's body through the energy cocoon. At this moment, the space of the stone room trembled. Du Xiaofu's aura became more and more powerful. Under the continuous infusion of the invisible energy of heaven and earth, his body was also undergoing various tempering and transformations. His bones, muscles, internal organs, blood vessels, meridians, and so on were also strengthened. After a long time, the invisible energy of heaven and earth in the air above the stone room also became more and more intense as Du Xiaofu's aura became more and more powerful. In the end, the hundreds of millions of pores on the surface of Du Xiaofu's purple-gold body greedily swallowed all the energy that was pouring into his body. The golden-black mysterious rune light bloomed and dazzled. An astonishing scene appeared in the stone room. Quietly, starlight began to revolve within the stone room. Purple flames filled the air, and dazzling golden runes surged. Tyrannical energy fluctuated within the stone room, like a vast ocean, like a golden rainbow crossing the sky. Boom! The stone room rumbled and the earth shook. It was as if heaven and earth were in turmoil. It was shocking. The rising aura on Du Xiaofu's body seemed to have reached a critical point, and the rapidly rising aura gradually came to a halt. Chi! Chi! Roar! But then, the golden-winged rock and the black-colored fish in the stone room roared. They were so overbearing that it was enough to make all beasts crawl. Purple lightning swept out, and the space trembled violently. A terrifying thunder power filled the stone room. Lightning flashed, and thunder roared. It was an unparalleled execution. In the stone room, Du Xiaofu's aura became more and more powerful. Under the continuous infusion of the invisible energy of heaven and earth, a muffled sound came from his body. Bang! This muffled sound seemed to have broken through an invisible barrier, and Du Xiaofu's aura suddenly stepped onto a new level. As his aura rose, the full spirit gate and Naiwen palace in his body seemed to have turned from a lake into an ocean. Suddenly, the energy of heaven and earth from the surrounding area crazily poured into them. Rumble! The energy cocoon around Du Xiaofu cracked at this moment. Then, it surged into Du Xiaofu's body like a raging tide. The aura that had stagnated around Du Xiaofu suddenly rose even more violently. Then, he stepped into a new realm. A terrifying aura swept through the sky. At this moment, Du Xiaofu's body was like a bottomless pit. Under the infusion of the energy of heaven and earth, it continuously absorbed all the vast energy. The commotion lasted for a very long time. After a long time, the surging energy of heaven and earth in the stone room began to dissipate. At this moment, a dazzling white divine light rippled on Du Xiaofu's body. It was accompanied by an ancient aura. Then, everything gradually calmed down. Chi. When everything completely calmed down, the stone room returned to normal. The illusions of the golden rock and the black fish also dissipated. Only Du Xiaofu's purple-gold naked body was sitting cross-legged. The purple-gold light shone brightly, and traces of purple electric arcs did not fluctuate over time. They gave off a metallic texture and were as clear as jade. Hu! Finally, Du Xiaofu moved. He exhaled a long breath of turbid air from his throat. The spatial ripples in front of him were directly shaken off by the turbid air. At the same time, Du Xiaofu's tightly shut eyes trembled slightly. He suddenly opened them. Within his eyes, 2 blazing purple-gold thunderbolts shot out. The purple-gold thunderbolts in his eyes rushed out. They seemed to materialize and soared into the sky. Rumble! Rumble! The thunderbolts swept out, and the space trembled violently. A terrifying thunderous might filled the sky. After a while, the countless thunderbolts pierced through the space and disappeared from the stone room. A powerful aura suddenly surged out from within his body in all directions. Compared to before, his aura was undoubtedly worlds apart. Spatial ripples directly spread apart from him. When the purple-gold thunderbolts disappeared, a strange scene appeared in Du Xiaofu's eyes. In his left eye, there seemed to be a golden-winged roc soaring in the sky. In his right eye, there seemed to be a black kun bobbing up and down in the boundless sea. All of this was strange and mysterious. Du Xiaofu peeked into his body. At this moment, the Xianqi in his body was rolling like a vast ocean. Compared to the middle stage of the Sage Realm, the Xianqi in his body and the aura on his body had reached another level. It was as if his body had the power to destroy everything. It was a world of difference from the middle stage of the Sage Realm. Most importantly, in his primordial spirit in his Mudpill Palace, Du Xiaofu clearly felt that his primordial spirit had risen to a terrifying level. What shocked Du Xiaofu even more was that there was another broken bone in his chest that didn't belong to him. It was right beside the bone that he had obtained from the golden-winged roc. It was fused with a black broken bone, and it was covered with a bit of gold. This bone was obtained from Feiyu. There was no news about it, and he didn't know what it was. However, Du Xiaofu knew now. This bone is from the Kuan. From the bone, Du Xiaofu knew the origin of this bone. This was the bone of the Kuan, a supreme ferocious beast. It was said that it came from the North Sea, and it wasn't inferior to the golden-winged roc. Du Xiaofu had also acquired the cultivation method and supreme beast abilities from the bones. Furthermore, he had learned that Widower Sage had probably benefited from the bones of the Kuan, which had led him to become an Archean expert. But no matter what, he didn't die, and he actually broke through again. Du Xiaofu was overjoyed. Phew! Phew! Du Xiaofu stretched and felt the tyrannical Xianqi in his Dantian Sea of Qi, and the power of the primordial spirit in his mind. He couldn't help but smile. At this moment, the aura on his body made Du Xiaofu's heart beat faster. Late stage Holy Beast Realm. Du Xiaofu waved his hand as he felt the cultivation of the late-stage Holy Beast Realm in his body. His aura burst out, and a space ripple began to sway. Then, it distorted, and finally broke into pieces. Du Xiaofu withdrew his aura into his body, and the space slowly recovered. A ray of light flashed in Du Xiaofu's eyes. He had sensed that the fluctuation from a moment ago had been able to tear the space apart. This had left Du Xiaofu shocked in his heart. After all, the gap between the intermediate stage of the Sage Realm and the late stage of the Sage Realm was two completely different concepts. The strength of a sage expert would increase with every breakthrough. Every level was a huge chasm. This saying wasn't false at all. What shocked Du Xiaofu even more was that every breakthrough in the Sage Realm was like a chasm. However, Du Xiaofu could clearly feel another new aura in his body. This aura made Du Xiaofu have a strange feeling in his heart. This aura seemed to have come from the secret bone of the Kuan. This aura wasn't as domineering as the aura of the golden-winged pink bird clan. However, it was endless. It was completely opposite to the aura of the golden-winged pink bird clan. However, this aura wasn't inferior to the golden-winged pink bird clan. Such a miraculous aura made Du Xiaofu feel as if his physical body had undergone another metamorphosis. Du Xiaofu carefully observed his body at this moment. He was surprised to find that his muscles, bones, and muscles were almost the same as those of the real pink bird clan. However, they were now covered with a deep black color. They were beginning to show a black-golden color. Even the blood on his body had black blood in it. It was very strange. Du Xiaofu felt that all of this was very different. This change was almost substantial. It was all the influence of the mysterious bone. Du Xiaofu didn't know whether this change was harmful or not. There was another bone in his body that didn't belong to him. However, At least for now, it was beneficial to him. Therefore, he didn't think too much about it. At this moment, the feeling of his strength skyrocketing made Du Xiaofu feel indescribably wonderful. At this moment, Du Xiaofu felt that with his primordial spirit, as long as he was in a place where his primordial spirit could reach, he could launch a primordial spirit attack. If he faced a cultivator at the same level as him, even if he was far away, he could launch a primordial spirit attack in an instant. He could seal the target he wanted to attack in an instant. Coupled with the spiritual thunder on his body, he could simply kill the opponent in an instant. This could be his trump card in the future. Estimating the power of his primordial spirit and the trembling of his body, Du Xiaofu felt that compared to before, there was no comparison at all. Only he could feel how powerful he was. In his body, Du Xiaofu felt that there seemed to be an invisible brand in his body. It came from the mysterious bone of the Kuan. It carried an aura that was completely opposite to the aura of the golden-winged great pink bird clan. It took root and sprouted in his body, merging with his limbs, bones, and billions of cells. Feeling this indescribable change, Du Xiaofu guessed that it might be the benefits brought by the bone of the Kuan that made him seem to have undergone a qualitative transformation. Above the bone, Du Xiaofu also knew that he had comprehended a supreme beast energy that was not inferior to the golden-winged great pink bird clan. Boom! His hand seal condensed and changed. A pitch-black light burst out from his body and turned into a huge black Kuan in front of him. A terrifying power filled the air. The Kuan seemed to be alive. Its eyes were like two suns, looking down on all living things and suppressing the ancient times. It was comparable to a real dragon. When it spread its wings, it could cover the void and cover the clouds in the sky. Chapter 2402. Rumble. Mysterious black runes shuttled back and forth. The giant Kuan seemed to be floating in the boundless sea. It was extremely shocking. Looking at the supreme beast ability he had manifested, Du Xiaofu was also very surprised. That giant Kuan was actually so terrifying. The aura it emitted was enough to be on par with the real dragon and real phoenix, and could be on par with the real rock. Carefully feeling the changes of that giant Kuan, Du Xiaofu was secretly shocked. This giant Kuan was somewhat similar to the golden-winged rock. One was the rock of the 9 heavens, the other was the giant Kuan of the sea. However, there was an invisible connection between them. For a moment, he couldn't understand. Du Xiaofu didn't think much about it, and withdrew the supreme beast ability of the giant Kuan. Feeling his current cultivation strength, if he were to meet that thunder goat again, it would probably be fun. Thinking of this, the corners of Du Xiaofu's mouth curled into a smile. He was really looking forward to meeting that thunder goat again. Even if he were to meet that blood mane ancestor again, it would still be fun. Blood mane, I'm really looking forward to meeting you here. Du Xiaofu murmured softly, and gently clenched his fist. In just a moment, Du Xiaofu was immersed in a beautiful fantasy. Before he could recover, he was about to cry. What's going on? What's going on? Du Xiaofu finally saw everything in the stone room at this moment. There were divine weapons floating everywhere, and the purple-gold heavenly palace, the ancient desolate space, the illusory saber formation and the others were at the side. Even the 9 tribulations sword was there. Touching his bare body, Du Xiaofu realized that all the Qianquan bags on him were gone. Du Xiaofu was in a daze. He was stunned and couldn't recover for a long time. Du Xiaofu faintly recalled that after his physical body was smashed by the remains of the primordial great power, his primordial spirit fell into a coma, and the spiritual thunder in his primordial spirit began to wreak havoc. Then, it smashed his Qianquan bag into pieces. Because it was his spiritual thunder and his Qianquan bag, although the Qianquan bag was sealed, the treasures inside were not destroyed. However, the spiritual thunder directly smashed them into pieces. Piles of heavenly treasures, divine medicines, elixirs, and spiritual medicines directly turned into spiritual liquid. Du Xiaofu finally understood. No wonder he felt that surging energy coming from nowhere, as if it wanted to tear him apart countless times, consigning him to eternal damnation. It turned out that it was the treasures he had painstakingly collected along the way. Pain, heartache, physical pain. Du Xiaofu was on the verge of tears. So many divine medicines and heavenly treasures. There was also a huge pile of ancient martial techniques, cultivation techniques, and piles of Tao and immortal treasures. All of them had been destroyed. If he had known this would happen, he would have given those Tao and immortal treasures to the violet gold heavenly tower to devour. Du Xiaofu touched his chest, almost pounding his chest and stamping his feet. He had painstakingly collected all those treasures along the way. He had thought of all the methods, spent a lot of effort, and took a lot of risks. In the end, it was all gone. After a long time, Du Xiaofu calmed down a little. He thought about how he had so many divine medicines and heavenly treasures. At the very least, he had broken through again. Now that he had stepped into the late Saint Beast realm, it didn't seem like he had suffered a loss. However, when he thought about how all those martial skills, Tao tools, magic tools, cultivation methods, and magic tools were buried with him, Du Xiaofu couldn't help but feel a faint pain in his heart. Sensing the aura of the heavenly violet gold tower, Du Xiaofu felt as though the heavenly violet gold tower had fallen into a state of slumber. Du Xiaofu counted the sacred artifacts on him, and wondered if the heavenly violet gold tower had stolen a good number of his sacred artifacts. He felt as though there was something off about the number of sacred artifacts. Soon after, Du Xiaofu discovered a well-preserved Qianquan bag. This Qianquan bag was left behind by the great elder of Tianwu Academy. When he entered this fearsome ground, this mysterious Qianquan bag seemed to have reacted. This Qianquan bag actually managed to escape from the spiritual thunder. This made Du Xiaofu feel that this Qianquan bag was even more mysterious. Soon after, Du Xiaofu packed up everything around him. He kept the purple gold heavenly tower, illusory saber formation, and ancient desolate space into his body. Without the Qianquan bag on him, Du Xiaofu could only keep the 9 tribulation sword and the other divine weapons into the ancient desolate space. These divine weapons were very strong. The spiritual thunder didn't destroy them, and they managed to escape. However, Du Xiaofu felt that there was something wrong with the number of divine weapons. He suspected the purple gold heavenly tower. After packing up everything, Du Xiaofu clapped his hands. He awkwardly realized that he didn't have any external objects on him. His body was naked. He had no choice but to activate the green spirit armor to cover his body. I'm afraid a long time has passed. More than half a month has passed. Du Xiaofu estimated the time. He seemed to have lost the concept of time when he was comprehending. However, he also faintly felt that not much time had passed in the real world. However, more than half a month had passed. He should think of a way to leave. He didn't know if Lu Limo had successfully escaped. He also didn't know where the ancient mighty remains had gone. Looking around the stone room, Du Xiaofu carefully sized it up. It was better to leave early. If the ancient mighty remains came back, Zhang Jiajia wouldn't be its opponent even if he had broken through. Du Xiaofu didn't have much luck. Soon after, he discovered that the seal that was originally set up in the stone room had strangely disappeared. It wasn't difficult for him to leave. Waving his hand, Du Xiaofu tore the void apart and left the stone room. A few hours later, in a mountain range, more than 10 human race experts were forming a team to explore. Suddenly, a mysterious golden light burst out. The leader of the team, a thin middle-aged man, who was in the initial stage of the Saint Realm, directly disappeared. Then, as the dozen or so experts searched in fear, they saw the middle-aged Saint Realm expert not far away. His entire body was covered in restrictions, and his clothes had been stripped off, leaving only a pair of pants that reached his hips. His eyes were turbid and dull. Not long after, there was a rumor that a super expert who was homosexual had appeared in the burial dead grounds. He specialized in attacking Saint Realm experts. There were already Saint Realm experts who had been humiliated. Gossip is a fearful thing. Gossip is a fearful thing. The next day, in a place where many powerful beings had gathered, an ordinary-looking young man shook his head and sighed. He had only casually taken some clothes and a Qianquan pouch. How could he be a homosexual? This was definitely a rumor. This ordinary-looking young man was Du Xiaofu. He used a divine disguise technique and walked out of the stone room. In this place where living beings gathered, Du Xiaofu also received a lot of news. There were fights for treasures everywhere. Experts of various races had all come out. Even ancestor-level experts had appeared. It was rumored that not long ago, the blood-malevolent ancestor had been defeated and forced to flee. The name of the desolate country had also spread throughout the burial dead grounds. It had intimidated the burial dead grounds, but of course, it had also made many enemies. From all kinds of news, what shocked Du Xiaofu the most was that the entrance to the outside world had changed. It was possible that the experts who had entered the burial dead grounds before could enter again. This caused Du Xiaofu's expression to turn solemn. From the looks of it, it was true. This meant that the experts in the eternal tomb could also enter. There were many of his enemies there, as well as those terrifying devil emperors from the devil cult. Seems like I have to find everyone as soon as possible, Du Xiaofu murmured. Regardless of whether it was the devil emperors or experts from the eternal tomb who had entered, or the old ancestor world experts who had also lowered their status to act, his eldest brother Jin Qingchun and his drunkard father weren't a match for them. He had to find them quickly. The competition for the burial heaven Deathland was getting more and more intense. It was unknown how many major powers had been dragged into it. The impact was huge, and many experts had already died. Of course, many experts had also risen, and supreme experts had risen, shaking the world. There's a mysterious secret realm that's opening. It's startling everyone. Experts from various forces are flocking over. It's rumored that the blood essence of a true dragon and a true phoenix might be hidden inside. Du Xiaofu received such news. Given the character of the people of the desolate country, if they received such news, Du Xiaofu knew that they wouldn't let it go. He might be able to find everyone there. Several hours later, Du Xiaofu's figure appeared in the void. Under the Blood Soul seal, he controlled a peak main domain ferocious bird as his mount. He also gathered some information. At the same time, two more people appeared beside Du Xiaofu. One was a little girl, and the other was a teenager. They were Du Xiaohuang and Du Xiaoba. In the desolate ancient space, they weren't affected at all. They had all recovered from their injuries. Du Xiaoba had even improved slightly. Go as fast as you can. Du Xiaofu sat cross-legged on the back of the ferocious bird. Yes, master. Yes. The ferocious bird replied. Its eyes were filled with reverence and obedience. As it flapped its wings, talisman inscriptions flickered. The surrounding space twisted slightly as ripples appeared. The airflow whistled past, bringing with it the low sound of rushing wind. As he sat cross-legged on the back of the ferocious bird, the whistling airflow swept past with a gale. A while later, Du Xiaofu's robes fluttered slightly under his disguise technique. An invisible golden ring of light appeared around him. His eyes narrowed slowly as he began to immerse himself in comprehending the three swords of space severing. The mysteries of space were faintly discernible around him. The breakthrough this time was a fluke. Du Xiaofu was overjoyed, but at the same time, he was also glad that he hadn't fallen behind in his comprehension during this period of time. Otherwise, it would have been difficult for him to break through even if he had exploded. At the level of saint, comprehension was more important than cultivating profound qi. The ferocious bird flapped its wings. A strand of spatial energy circled around Du Xiaofu. Du Xiaofu's comprehension ability had always improved by leaps and bounds in terms of comprehension, but it was absolutely monstrous. However, he had spent quite a bit of time comprehending the three swords of space severing. Of course, Du Xiaofu knew that it was because the three swords of space severing were the most profound and formidable. Even though he had broken through once more, Du Xiaofu didn't want to waste any time. He was still far away from the demon god. Du Xiaofu found out from the ferocious bird that he was still some distance away from the secret realm he had discovered, so he just started cultivating and comprehending. He was so immersed in his comprehension that he was completely unaware of it. Of course, Du Xiaofu had set up restrictions as well, so he wouldn't be careless at all. Even though they encountered many living beings along the way, this ferocious bird at the peak of the Overlord realm wasn't weak, so no living beings came to disturb them. They were all hurrying on their way. Moreover, the faint aura that Du Xiaohuang gave off was enough to deter ordinary experts. Gradually, many silhouettes appeared in the surrounding mountains one after another. When they saw the silhouettes on the ferocious bird, no one dared to stop them. At this moment, everyone was here to search for treasures. There were not many people who would take the initiative to provoke others. No one would be willing to fight for no reason. Huff! A few hours later, Du Xiaofu exhaled a mouthful of turbid air as he awoke from his comprehension. Master, we're almost there! The ferocious bird's voice rang out. Du Xiaofu raised his head and looked ahead when he heard the bird's voice. He saw that the sky in the distance was dim and hazy. A faint blood mist obscured the sky and enveloped a large area in front of him. The silhouette of several enormous mountains could be seen in the blood mist, but he couldn't make them out clearly. However, the closer he got, the more ancient and desolate the aura he sensed. It was accompanied by a terrifying killing intent. The aura was enough to make one's soul tremble. This place isn't simple. Du Xiaofu raised his eyebrows. Was this the secret realm they had discovered? Just the aura alone was enough to make one's heart tremble. It was as if there was an astonishing danger lurking within. At that moment, Du Xiaofu's expression changed. He waved his hand and a light flashed between his brows. A qianquan bag appeared in his hand. It was an ordinary qianquan bag that exuded an ancient and boundless aura. There wasn't anything special about it, but there was a flicker of light that quickly disappeared. This was the qianquan bag that Du Xiaofu had kept in the qianquan bag that the Tianwu Academy's Supreme Elder had given to him. In order to prevent any accidents from happening, Du Xiaofu had kept the saint artifacts in the qianquan bag even though he had obtained quite a number of them. Du Xiaofu was certain that his eyes weren't playing tricks on him. The qianquan bag that the Tianwu Academy's Supreme Elder had given to him had reacted again. In fact, the reaction lasted for a while before disappearing. Holding the qianquan bag in his hand, Du Xiaofu's yuan spirit peered into the qianquan bag. However, he realized that even with the strength of his yuan spirit, he still felt like a stone sinking into the ocean. He couldn't see what was inside the qianquan bag at all. What's inside? Yes. Du Xiaofu retracted his yuan spirit. Just now, he had clearly sensed that the qianquan bag, which hadn't reacted all this while, had fluctuated a little. Father, there are quite a few people ahead, Du Xiaohuang said. Are we too late? There are already quite a few people ahead. Du Xiaoba stood up. His half-grown figure stood with his hands behind his back as he stared ahead. He could sense that there were already quite a few auras in the mountain range ahead. They seemed to have matured. No, they're all waiting. Du Xiaofu casually put the qianquan bag into his arms. Using his consciousness, he had already peered ahead. He could sense that there were quite a few auras in front of him. They were all waiting for something. The ferocious bird spread its wings. It was getting closer and closer to the space ahead. The desolate and bloody aura was getting stronger and stronger. Vaguely, Du Xiaofu could even feel a murderous aura leaking out. It was even more frightening. Be careful. Du Xiaofu instructed Du Xiaohuang and Du Xiaoba. It was also because these two little guys had already recovered and he wanted them to continue training that he brought them out of the desolate ancient space. Then, Du Xiaofu had the ferocious bird withdraw its body. It turned into a tall and thin middle-aged man. It landed on the ground and went straight to the entrance of the secret realm. There was already a sea of people around. He didn't know where so many experts came from. Du Xiaofu raised his head and looked ahead. He could only see a vast and boundless space. He could vaguely see a huge mountain range. The desolate and bloody aura was spreading and coexisting. It was very shocking. Between the surrounding mountains there was a huge square. In the gaps of the forest, there were some demonic and spiritual beast remains. The white bones added a bit of gloominess to this place. As soon as he arrived, Du Xiaofu's expression changed. He could sense quite a few familiar auras. At this time, there were already many familiar figures around. At a glance, Du Xiaofu was quite surprised. In addition to the familiar experts from the Beast Alliance and the human race, there were also many figures from the Buddhist school, Confucian school, and farmer school from the outside world. He didn't expect these people to be here. Du Xiaofu saw people from the Confucian school, the school of agriculture, and the Buddhist school. After all, they were all from the outside world, and Du Xiaofu was relieved that they were safe and sound. There were also some familiar figures among them: Jiu Chongling, Heng Luan, Patriarch Mengwen, Kong Sansi, Zhou Xiaoluo, Elder Daibai. Of course, Du Xiaofu also saw many opponents from the Beast Alliance and the human race. These people were all here, but they hadn't fought yet. Du Xiaofu felt a little relieved after he carefully swept his mind. There didn't seem to be any old ancestor-level powerhouse in this place. However, there were many sage experts here. Several concealed auras were fluctuating among them. They should be the hidden super powerhouses of various big forces. Their cultivations might have already stepped into the late stage of the sage realm. Be careful. Yes. Du Xiaofu said softly to Du Xiaohuang and Du Xiuba. Although he wasn't afraid of anyone now, it was still better to be careful. Yes. Yes. As Du Xiaofu's voice fell, Du Xiaohuang and Du Xiaoba nodded slightly and responded softly. Each of them was on guard. On this natural square, there were at least 1,000 living beings and experts gathered at this moment. Seeing Du Xiaofu and the others coming in, they attracted some attention. They seemed to have felt the aura of Du Xiaofu and the others. No one dared to stop Du Xiaofu and the other two from moving forward. They all made way for them. Some of the major forces and experts in front didn't pay attention to it. It wasn't surprising that people came one after another. Moreover, everyone was staring at the huge space in front of them at this time. Du Xiaofu was no exception. He moved forward slowly, but his eyes were fixed on the front. The outline of the huge mountain was incomparably huge. The valleys on both sides towered into the clouds. In the gray space, it looked extremely majestic. From within it, there was naturally a strand of an ancient aura that shook the heart and soul, coexisting with a bloody killing intent. Moreover, what shocked Du Xiaofu even more was that from the entrance until the end of his field of vision, there was a thick pile of corpses of living beings, and there were enormous demon beast corpses that were ghastly white. This seems to be a place of great danger. Du Xiaofu looked at the huge mountain. The area of the skeletons was extremely vast. On both sides of the mountain, there was a faint outline of a huge mountain. Looking from afar, in the space filled with murderous aura, there seemed to be a monstrous, ferocious beast crawling there. It made one's hair stand on end. Du Xiaofu didn't have the slightest carelessness. From the moment he entered this dangerous place until now, he had seen and heard all kinds of dangers. He knew very well that this place was definitely not a good place. If he wasn't careful, it was not impossible for him to lose his life here. His eyes secretly rippled with golden light. The more he looked forward, the more Du Xiaofu felt that there was a terrifying aura in front of him. This aura even seemed to make Du Xiaofu feel that it didn't exist in the present world. It made him feel insignificant in his heart. What a terrifying place! What exactly is inside? Du Xiaofu's expression was solemn. Then, he came back to his senses. On this natural square, there were still many people joining in. They stared at the huge canyon entrance in front of them. Each of them was a little absent-minded, as if they had felt the aura inside. The creatures that could enter the heaven burial wasteland were already extraordinary. Therefore, after arriving here, they didn't have the slightest bit of carelessness. Some people in the surroundings seemed to have been here for a long time, but no one dared to enter. It was as if they were waiting for something. Why isn't anyone going in? Du Xiaohuang raised her eyebrows and asked in a low voice. There didn't seem to be any special seals in front of them, but the creatures in the surroundings seemed to be waiting for something. Many experts have already died in front of us. Naturally, no one would be stupid enough to be the leader. Otherwise, they would have gone in to explore long ago. However, with so many people here, no one wants to open a path for others, Du Xiaofu said. At the entrance, there were many white skeletons that still had auras. There were bloodstains on some of them, and they seemed to have died not long ago. From the looks of the skeletons, they were all experts. However, they were killed as soon as they got close. Naturally, no one would be the leader. Shwa shwa. At this moment, just as Du Xiaofu was sizing up the front, he suddenly felt many gazes looking at him. There was no kindness in their eyes, and their gazes were very complicated. Immediately, Du Xiaofu raised his eyebrows and looked around. He saw many familiar faces. Some of them were from the Ji clan, the Yao clan, and some great forces from the Beast clan. Du Xiaofu looked around and saw some familiar figures. There was Sun Qin from the Sun clan, Sun Quang's ancestor, Jian Yiting from the Jiang clan, and others. In the crowd, Du Xiaofu saw some of the people he wanted to see the most at this moment. They were Jialo Jiuyu, Old Lady Jialo Maluo, Big Sister Jialo Kailing, Jialo Jiucom, and others. Xiao Huang, Xiao Ba, why are you here? A voice that sounded like the sound of nature rang out. Then, a graceful figure flashed out. It was a rather young woman. Her beauty revealed a valiant and heroic spirit. Her radiance illuminated people, and she looked like a goddess in autumn. Chapter 2403. The woman was wearing a tight orange shirt that outlined her graceful figure so well that it was enough to cause one to have a nosebleed. On her soft and boneless waist, there was an accessory in the shape of a short sword. Her long and slender legs were straight and incomparably alluring. Seeing Du Xiaohuang and Du Xiaoba, the woman smiled and rubbed Du Xiaohuang and Du Xiaoba's little heads. She was very happy. Aunt Kailing! Martial aunt! And when they saw this absolute beauty, Du Xiaohuang and Du Xiaoba were also incomparably happy. This was none other than Jialo Kailing. Disciple greets master! Du Xiaoba also went to Jialo Jiuyu and bowed respectfully. Jialo Jiuyu was his master. What a strong aura! He's about to enter the Saint Realm! Sensing Du Xiaoba's aura, Jialo Jiucong and the others couldn't help but tremble. This abnormal little guy, was he going to defy the heavens? He hadn't even entered the Saint Realm yet. Jialo Jiuyu was very surprised. He didn't know how his disciple had entered this place, but he was also very surprised when he felt Du Xiaoba's aura. How could he not know what level his disciple's aura had reached? Great-grandmother! Du Xiaohuang was also very obedient. She rushed to the side of the old lady, Jialo Maluo, and was very intimate. Girl, why are you here? The old lady was overjoyed and hugged Du Xiaohuang in her arms. When she felt the aura on Du Xiaohuang's body, the old lady's benevolent face was completely shocked. She said in shock, Girl, you broke through to the Holy Beast Realm? Yes, I broke through a long time ago. Du Xiaohuang smiled slightly and said casually, Cuckoo! As these words fell, the old lady, Jialo Jiuyu, Jialo Jiucom, and the other experts of the Golden-Winged Rock clan all swallowed their saliva. Jialo Kailing was also shocked, but then her gaze fell on Du Xiaofu. Her eyes were like water, with a faint golden light, as if she could see through everything. She was also puzzled. Big sister. Du Xiaofu smiled helplessly. Then, his figure wriggled under the astonished gaze of the beautiful eyes and returned to his original appearance. His resolute face appeared. I knew it was you. A smile appeared on Jialo Kailing's beautiful face. As expected, it was this guy. Greetings, Grandma. Greetings, Elder Shui. Du Xiaofu smiled, and the space under his feet shrank to an inch as he walked to the old lady's side to greet her. It's good that you're fine. It's good that you're fine. The old lady smiled brightly. However, at this moment, the living beings in the plaza were in an uproar. It's the Ant Emperor! Rock Emperor! He's the Rock Emperor! He's the one who killed so many experts and worked together with others to scare blood-malevolent patriarch away. He is the Emperor of the desolate country. Everyone was in an uproar as they discussed animatedly. The crowd surged, and many complicated gazes were cast over. It's Du Xiaohuang, Du Xiaoba, and the Demon King Du Xiaofu! An old monk from the Buddhist sect spoke. Ninefold Spirit, Humluan, and the other's eyes rippled. It's the Rock Emperor! It's the Grand Shaman! Figures from the School of Family and the Confucian School immediately came over to greet them. When everyone met, they naturally exchanged pleasantries. They were all very happy. How are the people of the School of Family? Du Xiaofu asked Zhou Xiaoluo. Once again, he met this beautiful and exquisite woman with a noble temperament. Also, I don't know if the elders have fallen or are in other places. I hope they're safe, Zhou Xiaoluo said. At this moment, everyone was looking at Du Xiaofu, including Jialo Juoyu, Jialo Keiling, and the others. They had heard a lot of rumors and knew what this guy had done in this dangerous place. This guy was so dazzling no matter where he went. After exchanging some pleasantries, everyone began to discuss the strange place ahead of them. This place is not simple. Many people have died, so no one dares to set foot here. Perhaps they're waiting for the top experts from the major factions to arrive, so they don't dare to rashly take the risk, Zhou Xiaoluo said. The School of Family had arrived here quite early, and they had seen many experts who entered, but they were all killed inexplicably. Old Lady Jialo Malyo looked at the canyon with a dignified expression. There was an aura inside that made her afraid. Be careful, be careful! Be careful! Du Xiaofu said. Then, he looked at the outline of the big mountain in front of him again. Then, he slowly walked forward, wanting to take a closer look. You're the Rock Emperor. You're the one who killed the people of my Yao family. At this moment, just as Du Xiaofu took a few steps forward and looked at the vast mountain, a cold voice suddenly sounded. Then, a cold gaze shot towards him. Du Xiaofu's footsteps came to a halt when he heard the chilling voice. He turned his head around and looked in the direction of the voice. The corners of his mouth immediately curled into an icy arc. The lineup of the Ji family! Du Xiaofu's eyes slightly darkened. The one who spoke was none other than an old man with white hair in the lineup of the Ji family. He's about to step into the late-stage sage realm. Du Xiaofu probed with his mind consciousness and felt that the old man's aura was much stronger than Ji Tsang's. However, he hadn't really stepped into the late-stage sage realm, but he should have one foot in the late-stage sage realm. Du Xiaofu sighed inwardly. These clans deserved to be called the big clans of the human race. They really had a strong foundation. Ji Tsang was dead, but now an expert who was even stronger than Ji Tsang appeared. At this moment, the cold voice of the Ji family's old man, Zhe Yang, immediately attracted some strange gazes. Everyone could hear the coldness in his voice. At this moment, Yan Feng, Yao family, and the other experts in the lineup looked at Du Xiaofu and sneered slightly. Some of them took pleasure in his misfortune and were waiting to watch a good show. Zhou Xiaoluo, Kong Sansi, Jiao Chongling, Jialo Juoyu, and the others were also watching closely at this moment. They were also aware of the conflict between Du Xiaofu and the Ji family. They were also very tactful and had no intention of interfering. When they felt the aura of the old man with white hair, they knew that their cultivation was far from enough. At this moment, the gazes of the other living beings around the square landed on the white-haired old man and Du Xiaofu, their gazes rippling inwardly. That's the Ji family's ancestor Jijin. He has been in seclusion all this time. It is said that he is the elder brother of the Ji family's ancestor Ji Tsang. Rumor has it that the Ji family's ancestor Jijin is very powerful. I'm afraid that he is going to take revenge on the Rock Emperor. The Rock Emperor isn't easy to deal with. Didn't the blood-malevolent patriarch escape back then? The blood-malevolent patriarch was scared away by the Rock Emperor, the red-bone horse ape, and the mutated dragon. Now that the Rock Emperor is alone, I'm afraid the Ji family's ancestor won't miss this opportunity. Discussions instantly broke out, and the crowd was in an uproar. In the crowd, the Sun family's Sun Qin, the Sun family's patriarch Sun Kuang, and the Jiang family's Jian Yiting were also looking at Du Xiaofu with fluctuating gazes. With the Ji family's presence, no one said anything and just quietly observed the situation. Seems like there's a show to watch. At this moment, outside the crowd in the square, a dozen figures appeared in midair. They immediately saw the scene in front of them. The person in front was an extremely elegant and beautiful woman. Her skin was tender, and her beautiful eyes were full of longing. She wore a purple pleated skirt that seemed to emit a hazy light, and a fragrance permeated the air. The one who spoke was actually a peerless beauty beside the purple-dressed woman. Her graceful figure was exquisite, her dreamy purple hair glowed, and her figure rose and fell, causing one's heart to sway. Who else could it be other than the mysterious woman called Rainbow Moon that Du Xiaofu had met in the space of the divine domain? It's this guy again. Hong Yu looked at Du Xiaofu from afar. Her long purple hair was hazy and dreamy, shrouded in light. Let's wait and see. This danger zone is not simple. Purple Lotus Fairy looked back at Hong Yu and said. Her red lips parted slightly, and her voice was soft and gentle. I have no intention of helping. Anyway, I can't beat that old guy. Yes. Hong Yu raised her eyebrows slightly and pouted her red lips. There was an evasive look in her eyes. You seem to treat that demon king very differently. Purple Lotus Fairy smiled and saw the evasive look in Hong Yu's eyes. He's especially bad. Sister, you should stay away from him. Hong Yu said. I'd like to know what level his strength has reached in this danger ground. Purple Lotus Fairy smiled. Her beautiful eyes stared at Du Xiaofu with great anticipation. Hong Yu did not speak again. She just looked over with her beautiful eyes. At this moment, the majority of the people in the square were originally focused on the huge mountain's silhouette. Patriarch Jijin's shout instantly drew everyone's attention to Du Xiaofu and Luo Yunyang. I killed him. Does the Ji family want revenge? Yes. Du Xiaofu stood with his hands clasped behind his back and glanced at Ancestor Jijin. His expression sank slightly, but his gaze remained calm. You left your name in the temple. You are a good seedling of the human race. Unfortunately, you have evil intentions. My Ji family is not something you can provoke. Today, Ancestor will enforce justice on behalf of the heavens so that you will not be allowed to harm this world. Ancestor Jijin looked coldly at Du Xiaofu, his voice echoing throughout the square. He slowly stepped forward. This was an opportunity. The rumored Redbone Horse Monkey and Dragon were not present. This was the perfect opportunity to kill this brat. Du Xiaofu looked at Jijin. His gaze did not reveal anything, but the chill in his heart grew colder and colder. This Ji family really did not plan on letting him go. Jijin undoubtedly wanted to take advantage of this opportunity to attack. He did not cause trouble for the Ji family, but the Ji family came to cause trouble for him. This made Du Xiaofu feel rather helpless. Among the golden-winged rocks, the old granny, Jialo Jiuyu, and the other golden-winged rocks, as well as the experts of the School of Agriculture and the Confucian School, all revealed cold expressions and were ready to attack at any time. They felt that they could not deal with Jijin, but dealing with the other members of the Ji family was not a problem. Great-grandmother, don't worry. My father is fine. Du Xiaohuang spoke very casually. How could that little old man be her father's match? You want to kill me? Taking a deep breath, Du Xiaofu looked at Jijin. His calm gaze then revealed a smile. Sure, I am very willing to give you this opportunity. I'm just afraid that you won't be able to withstand a single blow. Du Xiaofu's voice was very loud and deliberately mixed with profound energy. His domineering voice reverberated in the air, loud enough for everyone to hear clearly. When that arrogant voice rang out, it immediately caused everyone's eyes to twitch. This brat's tone is really big. Gasps of surprise could be heard from the surrounding crowd. Everyone looked at Du Xiaofu. Some were surprised, some were disdainful, some were curious, and some were puzzled. After all, Forefather Jijin was an absolute super powerhouse. Haha! Hearing Du Xiaofu's words, Jijin's old face stared intently at Du Xiaofu. Instead of getting angry, he laughed. His laughter resounded through the square, but everyone could hear the coldness in his voice. Jijin's expression immediately darkened. He stared intently at Du Xiaofu and said, Brat, you sure talk big. I hope your strength is as good as your tone. You have the right to talk big to this ancestor. You'll know once you try. Since you want to kill me, I don't mind killing a few more people from the Ji family. Du Xiaofu's voice was cold and domineering. He really didn't put Jijin in his eyes. Not to mention that he could easily kill Jijin with his current strength. Even the 7 saint puppets could easily deal with this old man. Brat, you're courting death. Jijin's expression grew uglier and uglier. He slowly walked forward, leaving a footprint on the square with every step. The ground around the footprint cracked and turned into powder. It seemed that Jijin was venting his anger on the ground. I think you're the one courting death. Du Xiaofu raised his eyebrows and looked at all the people from the Ji family. Do you want to come together or let that old man come alone? Otherwise, I'll have to make a move later. It's better to send you all on your way together. Arrogant, domineering, and domineering. Du Xiaofu's current attitude showed that he didn't put the Ji family in his eyes at all. On the square, all the living beings looked at Du Xiaofu with complicated expressions. Humph, reckless brat. The experts from the Ji family immediately revealed cold expressions. They couldn't suppress their anger. Brat, I have to say that you're the most arrogant person I've ever seen. Judging from the current situation, you're definitely going to die today. Jijin stared at Du Xiaofu, the coldness in his eyes growing thicker and thicker. He didn't hide his killing intent at all. You're noisy and full of nonsense. Let's do it quickly. The corners of Du Xiaofu's mouth curled into a cold smile. Haha. No matter how good Jijin's state of mind was, he couldn't help but be angry at this moment. That brat didn't put him in his eyes at all. He originally wanted to humiliate the brat in front of everyone, and then kill him to regain some face for the Ji family. Although there were some people around the brat, Jijin could see that their strength was just average. No one would support this brat, so he couldn't be arrogant. But Jijin didn't expect this brat to be so arrogant. Jijin's laughter was deafening, and there was unconcealable anger in it. He was the dignified ancestor of the Ji family, someone who could cause a storm with a stomp of his foot, but this brat didn't put him in his eyes at all. The Ji family also had many experts, including the descendants of supreme beings like Ji Qianxing, who had also fallen at his hands. Jijin couldn't hold back his anger, and sneered loudly. Brat, you're courting death! Boom! As soon as he finished speaking, Jijin was already furious to the extreme. A wisp of livid color surged onto his old face, and his eyes were abnormally icy cold. The profound energy around his body instantly surged violently, and the resplendent talisman runes beneath his feet flashed as he directly pounced forward. Swish! With a wave of his hand, a yellow ray of energy from Jijin's hand turned into a claw. It tore through space like lightning, and with a sharp sonic boom, fiercely shot toward Du Xiaofu's face. He didn't hold back his aura at the peak of the intermediate stage of the Saint Realm at all. This was enough to prove that Jijin wanted to kill. At this moment, many people in the square were breaking out in cold sweat for Du Xiaofu. Of course, there were also many people who hoped that Du Xiaofu would be killed in one move, such as the people from the Yao family. Some of the demonic beast experts in the Beast Alliance were thinking the same thing. Jialo Jiayu, Old Lady Jialo Maoyuo, Hongwei, Zhou Xiaoluo, Violet Lotus Fairy, and Jiu Xingling were all watching closely. Only Du Xiaoba and Du Xiaohuan had faint, strange smiles on their faces. They weren't worried in the slightest. Everything happened as fast as lightning. In the face of Jijin's sudden burst of power and fierce attack, Du Xiaofu's eyes suddenly revealed a cold smile. Then, a golden light flashed under his feet, and he quickly retreated with the carefree footwork. Buzz buzz! At the same time, a golden light shone brightly as the azure spirit armor was set up. Behind the azure spirit armor, a buzzing sound could be heard. The golden wings of the great ping behind the azure spirit armor spread out. His entire person was like a great ping in human form, about to soar into the sky. The great ping golden wings and the golden feather armor were a perfect fusion of nature. The magnificent armor and the domineering great ping golden wings made him look even more majestic and domineering, just like a god of war. At this moment, when Du Xiaofu set up the azure spirit armor and golden rock wings, many of the surrounding experts were shocked. Swish! Jijin's claws tore through the void and directly arrived in front of Du Xiaofu. In the blink of an eye, Du Xiaofu activated the azure spirit armor and great pink golden wings. With a sneer on his face, he instantly disappeared under the claws. The sound of wind and thunder was deafening, and golden light shone brightly. At this moment, Jijin's figure appeared more than 10 feet away. It's this strange method again! Is this rock emperor a human or a golden-winged great pink bird? The expressions of many people changed when they saw the green spirit armor and the great golden rock wings on Du Xiaofu's back, which was filled with a shocking energy and the sound of wind and thunder. It was this terrifying technique again. This kid seems to be stronger. Among the densely packed crowd, no one noticed a small and skinny figure in a corner. His face was deliberately covered by a hood, and there was no fluctuation of aura on his skinny body. He looked at Du Xiaofu and lifted his eyes slightly. There was a faint fluctuation in his eyes, and there was also coldness. He muttered softly, "He must have obtained that supreme treasure to be able to make such progress. I must obtain that supreme treasure." In the field, Jijin was secretly surprised when his attack missed. His face was still ashen, as if he didn't expect Du Xiaofu to be so fast. He was as strange and powerful as the rumors said. He attacked with all his strength and didn't hold back, but the kid escaped his attack in an instant. How could Jijin accept this? He couldn't put down his old face. Patriarch Jijin originally wanted to turn this arrogant brat into pieces with a single move. How could he tolerate the fact that he had lost his inheritance? Awu! Awu! There was a low roar, and the sound waves shook the earth. In an instant, Jijin's profound chi surged out rapidly from his body. There were talisman engravings fluctuating, and the boundless energy of heaven and earth gathered in the air to form the shadow of an ancient, ferocious beast. It seemed to be alive, as if it really existed. The strange beast roared with a monstrous aura. An enormous pressure that could intimidate the primordial spirit spread out, as if a primordial ferocious beast had awakened. It was incomparably dazzling, causing the void to tremble. It illuminated the field with a dazzling light. What a powerful pressure! The weaker creatures in the surroundings didn't dare to look directly at this terrifying momentum at all. Many experts' expressions changed drastically, and their meridian spirits trembled and their profound chi stagnated. This is Jijin's meridian spirit! Jijin is going all out! Someone exclaimed. This aura was too terrifying. Look, there's a martial vein. Jijin is even using his martial vein! Someone was shocked. Jijin had only made one move, but Jijin had already activated his martial vein and meridian spirit. Boom! Boom! Sure enough, as the meridian spirit was activated, the void around Jijin trembled, and a terrifying aura spread out from it. Monstrous profound chi surged like an ocean, surging and boiling in the field. Talisman runes were outlined and covered his body. Jijin had directly activated his martial vein. Rumble! The void was deafening, and amidst the terrifying aura, Jijin was in the middle of the sky, covered in bright talisman runes and rippling with an ancient pressure that seemed to suppress everything. The Ji family's martial vein was definitely not ordinary. Die, brat! Boom! Jijin's cold voice filled with killing intent abruptly resounded through the air. Boom! Just as the cold voice rang out, a terrifying light vortex appeared in the sky with Jijin as the center. It was like a black hole, filled with a terrifying devouring power. The terrifying devouring power spread out, but it was blocked by the golden light from Du Xiaofu's golden peng wings that erupted from Du Xiaofu's back. The Ji family's martial vein is not simple. As Du Xiaofu looked at Jijin, the golden rock wings on his back emitted a golden light. His gaze also wavered. The Ji family's martial veins were indeed not simple. Jijin stood in the air, and at this moment, his eyes were as bright as the sun. He emitted a douse sound that resounded in the air as he looked straight at Du Xiaofu. He slowly raised his head and said, "It's time to end this." End. As Jijin's voice fell, he formed a hand seal, and the sky above this strange ancient field suddenly distorted. Then, the ferocious Meridian spirit rushed out and attacked Du Xiaofu. Chapter 2404. Du Xiaofu raised his head slightly, a cold smile in his eyes. Ancient runes rippled around his body, quietly revealing the outline of an 8 trigrams void diagram. Qian, Kun, Jin, Sun, Kan, Li, Jian, Dui. 8 directions connected, transforming into a resplendent divine ring that spread out in all directions. Oh! As the 8 trigrams void diagram appeared, the firmament quietly trembled. Within the 8 trigrams void diagram, 10,000 beasts howled, lightning descended, mountains and lakes evolved, wind, rain, thunder and lightning alternated, and the sun, moon and stars changed. The 8 trigrams void diagram instantly connected the heavens and the earth, containing all things. It was like a small whirl, causing the space around the ferocious Meridian soul beast that was tearing apart space to become chaotic. Its huge beast body was also suppressed, its light dimming by quite a bit. The ferocious eyes of the ferocious beast suddenly trembled. It seemed to have sensed something within this terrifying and strange aura, an invisible aura that caused it to tremble gushed out. Qi La! Qi La! At the same time, on the 8 trigrams diagram in the sky, Du Xiaofu was like a god in the sky. His figure swept out, and with a wave of his hand, he used his hand as a sword, and a sword light instantly spread out with lightning speed. Qi La! Qi La! The sword light was tens of thousands of feet long, layer after layer of light bloomed. Dazzling runes blossomed, and the brilliance of the sword light poured down on the heavens and the earth. Under the brilliance was a terrifying and domineering destructive energy. The ferocious beast was simply unable to block it, and was directly shattered under the sword light. Brat, I'll fight it out with you! At this moment, Jijin's expression greatly changed, but he immediately clenched his teeth. Hand seals formed one after another, and the martial veins on his body became increasingly resplendent. The final hand seal formed, and he pushed it out towards Du Xiaofu. The strange space immediately trembled rapidly, transforming into an energy vortex that descended from the heavens. Its entire body was dazzling and resplendent, and the runes were resplendent, but it caused one to feel destruction and tremble from the depths of one's soul. Rumble! The energy vortex crushed down on Du Xiaofu, and everywhere it passed, the space collapsed, revealing a pitch-black spatial hole that was illuminated by the light of runes. Heaven-devouring storm! That's the ultimate move of the Ji clan! The terrifying vortex collapsed, and the pressure that spread out caused the blood of the surrounding figures to boil, their origin spirits to tremble, and their meridians and souls to tremble. The old ancestor has successfully cultivated a lost technique. That brat is dead for sure. The experts of the Ji family trembled. As disciples of the Ji family, their souls and blood resonated with the terrifying vortex. This Jijin is really scary! Many of the elderly figures from the surrounding great forces were shocked, and their eyes were filled with astonishment. Zhou Xiaoluo, Jialo Kailing, Hong Yu, Violet Lotus Fairy, and the rest of the beautiful eyes were fixed on the field at this moment. Their charming faces were slightly frozen, and they couldn't help but quietly frown. Du Xiaofu's eyes were as calm as ever as he looked at the terrifying energy vortex. His sharp Yuan spirit could sense the terrifying destructive power contained in the terrifying vortex. Given Jijin's cultivation, it would be very difficult for an ordinary Sage Realm expert to withstand such an attack. Even if they were at the same level, Du Xiaofu reckoned that Jijin was absolutely terrifying. Although his heart was in turmoil, Du Xiaofu's hands didn't delay at all. After images rapidly condensed in his hands, and the profound qi in the divine gate in his body surged like huge waves in the ocean, gushing out through his acupoints and meridians. In an instant, a sparkling and translucent handprint that was covered in runes took shape in Du Xiaofu's hand. The handprint gradually became resplendent like a crimson sun in the sky, and the light fluctuated like lightning. It was gorgeous, and a powerful pressure suffused out from it. Faintly, the roars of dragons, tigers, birds, and turtles could be heard, causing space to ripple endlessly. Break! Break! These words were shouted out from Du Xiaofu's mouth. He swung his hand, and a colorful and gorgeous hand seal, accompanied by a glaring tail of light, instantly collided with the enormous vortex amidst a Sanskrit sound. Boom! Boom! Under many horrified gazes, the handprint and the vortex collided, and an earth-shattering muffled sound of energy suddenly resounded in the ancient void. Bang! Boom! Runes shot out from the collision, and a dazzling light erupted. The vortex and the mysterious runes on the handprint eroded and devoured each other, and terrifying energy ripples swept out like a huge wave. At the center of the collision, a huge black hole collapsed, revealing a deep darkness. It made one's hair stand on end, and a chill ran down one's spine. However, not long after, wild and tyrannical energy was released from the mysterious yellow emperor seal, and the roars of dragons, tigers, birds, and turtles could be heard. Roar, gulp! The roars of tigers, birds, and turtles could be heard. An azure dragon, a white tiger, a phoenix, and a black tortoise appeared, and their roars were like thunder, as if they wanted to destroy the yuan spirit of any living being. Their awe-inspiring pressure caused the world to boil. The experts from the Beast Alliance present were horrified, and they trembled as their hair stood on end. The azure dragon, white tiger, and other beasts roared, and a terrifying aura erupted from them, and they instantly collided with the terrifying vortex hand. Tyrannical and unparalleled energy filled the sky, and the terrifying vortex was finally smashed into pieces. Whoosh! The vortex exploded, and the terrifying energy storm and runes came to an abrupt stop, and they quickly dissipated. The four beasts were annihilated, and they disappeared into the void at the same time. Rip! Space exploded, and as spatial energy and shattered runes spread out, a golden figure suddenly shot out at an extremely terrifying speed, accompanied by the sound of wind and thunder. In just an instant, it turned into a familiar figure, and finally appeared in the sky above Jijin like a ghost, under many stunned gazes. It was Du Xiaofu. Oh no! Oh no! At the same time, all the experts present were shocked. Old man, you don't know that if I want to kill you, it will be as easy as flipping my hand. Boom! As Du Xiaofu appeared, a cold voice suddenly rang out from his mouth, and it resounded across the sky. In the next second, the large golden wings on Du Xiaofu's back flapped in front of countless pairs of eyes while everyone exclaimed in surprise. His body leaped out in an instant and traversed the sky. His body charged out in a lightning-like manner. His right hand extended out in a lightning-like manner, and a purple-gold flowing light immediately surfaced in his hand. A vast and mighty aura that was filled with an overbearing and destructive aura accompanied by a killing lightning abruptly surged out from within his body in all directions. Vaguely, there was a thunderous sound that shook the heavens and the earth resounding. Such an attack was filled with killing intent, but Du Xiaofu's every move contained the tyrannical fist way and the mysteries of thunder and lightning. Boom! Boom! Such a punch, amidst the eruption of golden light, came crashing down like the sun. Brilliant golden talisman runes appeared in the sky, shattering the void and shaking the world. A tyrannical and terrifying aura filled the sky. In the face of Du Xiaofu's tyrannical attack, Jijin immediately felt an invisible chill spread from the bottom of his heart. Under this astonishing power, his origin spirit trembled. Even now, Jijin was shocked to discover that this kid seemed to have been deliberately pretending to be weak. He simply did not have the strength to kill him in one blow. At the same time, everyone's eyes were filled with surprise. Roar! Roar! The golden fist, accompanied by the roar of a dragon and the trumpeting of a divine elephant, instantly broke through the air and landed in front of Jijin. At this moment, Jijin raised his head and stared at the golden fist. His pupils began to shrink, and he felt his heart stop beating. He was filled with despair, and his spirit trembled. Careful! Careful! It was also at this moment that the expression of an old woman in the Yao family's lineup changed drastically. She clenched her teeth and rushed toward Du Xiaofu at the same time. Humph! Humph! Almost at the same time, Jialo Kailing, Jialo Jiuyu, Jialo Maoyo, and Du Xiaohuang rushed out in a straight line. It seemed as if the majestic aura of the sovereign beast clan had surged out. The four figures carried a terrifying might as they fiercely shot toward the old woman from the Yao family. Four figures, four auras of the Saint Beast's realm soared into the sky. That momentum caused the expressions of many experts to change slightly. These were the terrifying auras of the four sovereign beast clan. The four of them attacked, and four attacks swept out toward the old woman from the Yao family. At the same time, with the sudden intervention of the old woman from the Yao family, Du Xiaofu's fist instantly bombarded Jijin's chest under everyone's horrified gazes. In the end, Jijin had hurriedly arranged a protective profound energy halo, but it shattered in an instant. The instant the fist landed, it was as if a dazzling purple-gold sun had been released from Jijin's chest, causing heaven and earth to tremble. Asterisk rumble. Asterisk the sky rumbled as a series of runic lights burst forth. Dazzling runic energy shot out like golden fireworks, causing the entire sky to be dazzled. Jijin's body directly turned into a bloody mist, and even his primordial spirit was shattered. At the same time, the old woman from the Yao family intervened. She was as fast as lightning, but just as her figure approached Du Xiaofu's 8 trigrams diagram in the air, she was immediately imprisoned. At that moment, only the old woman herself knew that the profound chi in her body had been completely suppressed in an instant. Even her primordial spirit was imprisoned by a mysterious aura. This kind of power wasn't something she could contend against. Not good, this brat has been deliberately showing weakness. The old woman from the Yao family finally realized that this brat was definitely deliberately showing weakness. Judging from his aura, this brat's strength was enough to kill Jijin in an instant. She was originally afraid that after Jijin was killed, the Rock Emperor would take the opportunity to cause trouble for the Yao family. Therefore, after weighing the pros and cons, she wanted to help Jijin. Only then did she realize that she had also fallen into a trap. Asterisk rumble. Asterisk Du Xiaohuang, the old woman in Garuda Mola, Garuda Jueyu, and Garuda Kaling, for early-stage saint beasts, all attacked the imprisoned old woman from the Yao family. On the 8 trigrams diagram in the air, the old woman, Garuda Mola, Du Xiaohuang, and the other two weren't affected much. Asterisk under these 4 attacks, the old woman from the Yao family spat out a mouthful of blood. She was completely imprisoned and couldn't resist the bombardment. If you want to die, then I'll fulfill your wish. Asterisk boom asterisk in an instant, Du Xiaofu's figure appeared on the old woman's body along with the golden light. He raised his head slightly, and as he spoke, he formed a seal with his hands. The golden light in his eyes was gradually replaced by dazzling purple lightning. Asterisk boom. Asterisk boom asterisk at this moment. Lightning flashed and thunder rumbled in the sky, and dark clouds gathered. In an instant, strange lightning talisman runes flashed on the surface of Du Xiaofu's body, and purple lightning snakes wreaked havoc around him. The purple lightning talisman runes covered Du Xiaofu's body, making him look like the god of thunder. The power of thunder descended on this part of the world, and it made people's souls tremble. Du Xiaofu activated his thunder martial vein. At this moment, the lightning in his eyes was like a raging thunderbolt, and it was majestic. At this moment, all the creatures in the sky were shocked. The descent of the thunderbolt made them tremble in fear, and a chill crept up their hearts. Asterisk boom. Asterisk boom. Asterisk at the same time, Du Xiaofu stretched out a finger, and a purple gold lightning arc suddenly covered the finger. The killing aura spread, and it didn't have any killing intent, but it showed the majesty of creation and the righteousness of heaven and earth. Such a finger mark lightly landed between the old woman's eyebrows. Asterisk bang, bang, bang. Asterisk in an instant, like a series of firecrackers, the old woman's body exploded inch by inch from her forehead. Her body was covered by purple lightning arcs, and the cracks in the void around her revealed a dark, palpitating light. Under the finger, her body directly turned into fragments of nothingness, and even her primordial spirit didn't have a chance to escape. Such an unforeseen event made the people of the Ji and Yao families dumbfounded. Asterisk gulp, gulp. Asterisk the creatures in the square watched the scene that just happened, and all of them swallowed a mouthful of saliva and sucked in a breath of cold air. Everyone saw that Du Xiaofu directly killed two terrifying experts, the Ji family's patriarch Ji Jin and the Yao family's patriarch Yao Lingcui. Although they weren't as famous as Ji Jin, they were still Yao family's middle-stage Saint Realm experts who were on par with Yao Yonghao. Heavens, the Ji family's patriarch Ji was killed! The Ji family's patriarch Ji Jin's body and soul were destroyed, and the Yao family also lost an expert. Due to this scene, the space around the square seemed to have become stagnant. Everyone's eyes were filled with absolute shock as they stared at the man who was wrapped in divine martial armor and looked like a real rock in human form. Everyone instantly understood that the Rock Emperor's overbearingness wasn't because he didn't know the immensity of heaven and earth, but because he had absolute strength. Directly killing the Yao family's patriarch Ji Jin and the Yao family's patriarch Yao Lingcui, this was absolute strength. Leaving his name on the sacred palace and suppressing the Archean era's supreme experts, this was the capital of the Rock Emperor's overbearingness. So strong, he has advanced by leaps and bounds again. Many experts from the Jiang and Sun families were shocked, and Jiang Yiting and Sun Qin's beautiful eyes flickered. The Rock Emperor is too terrifying, don't provoke him! Another expert was shocked. The Rock Emperor dared to kill the Ji and Yao family's patriarchs, so who wouldn't he dare to kill? It seemed that this guy couldn't be casually provoked, not to mention that the desolate country's reputation was rising, and many people were already afraid of him. The Rock Emperor's improvement is too shocking. Yes. Amongst the Buddhists, everyone was equally shocked at this moment. Zhou Xiaoluo, Kong Sansi, Hongwe, Violet Lotus Fairy, and the others were also shocked. Du Xiaofu's strength had completely exceeded their expectations. He actually killed two such terrifying experts with a single move, which was also something they didn't expect. At this moment, Yao Tian Yen Feng and some other demonic beast experts from the Beast Alliance were also completely shocked. He's actually this strong, it must be the power of that supreme treasure. In the crowd, the eyes of the skinny figure hidden in the crowd revealed an expression of absolute greed under the hood of his robe. The patriarch was killed by that kid! Yes. That kid killed another one of our patriarchs! Finally, the experts from the Ji and Yao families regained their senses. And patriarch was killed just like that. Kid, from today onwards, my Ji family will not rest until you die. Kill! The experts from my Yao family are here, they will definitely not let you go! An old man from the Yao and Ji clan cried out in grief. It was difficult to tell if the gazes of the experts from the Yao and Ji clan were filled with hatred, coldness, grief, or fury. Their facial features were all twisted together as they stared at Du Xiaofu with eyes that were filled with a monstrous coldness. Those who have nothing to do with the Ji and Yao families, please leave! Du Xiaofu's eyes were cold as he swept his gaze across the Yao and Ji families. Swoosh, swoosh! Hearing such a voice, the square was in an uproar. Figures immediately separated from the Yao and Ji families at lightning speed, leaving faster than rabbits. Soon, there were only a few dozen experts from the Yao and Ji families left in the spacious square. The atmosphere suddenly became strange. In this strange atmosphere, the people of the Yao and Ji families looked at each other in dismay. They began to tremble for no reason. They looked at Du Xiaofu, and their hearts couldn't help but palpitate. An old man's voice also became somewhat unclear as he asked, You! What do you want to do? You won't let me go, right? Then I will not let you go. Du Xiaofu sneered, the killing intent in his eyes undisguised. Dad, leave it to me. A tender voice spread out, and at this moment, a blazing energy fluctuation spread out in the void. Walala. At this moment, the sky suddenly became scorching hot, and a terrifying blazing aura burned everything. A seven-colored flame descended, causing the figures of all the creatures in the square to stop and look up at the sky. That terrifying blazing aura made everyone's souls tremble. Following the gazes of all the creatures, they saw that the small figure where Du Xiaohuang originally was now quietly burning. The golden, seven-colored flame and green light intertwined and became crystal clear, as if the sun was shining brightly and the flames were rolling. Amidst the blazing 7-colored flames, a strange beast appeared. It was about the same size, and its 8 wings were connected. It was as thin as a cicada's wings, and its entire body was enveloped by the 7-colored divine flame, emitting a 7-colored brilliance from the inside out. There was also a wisp of golden light shining out, releasing the supreme beast suppression of the Phoenix clan, accompanied by the domineering suppression of the Golden Rock clan. Boom! Boom! However, when such a strange beast appeared, the entire space trembled. Under that terrifying suppression, all the creatures in the square trembled, and some experts from the beast clan prostrated themselves. The divine ant flapped its wings and flew into the sky, with the 7-colored divine flame around its body. The supreme suppression swept across the sky, vast and mighty, shocking the world. It's the Supreme Ant Queen, it really is the Supreme Ant Queen. Suddenly, some experts exclaimed, and the experts from the Beast Alliance prostrated themselves. Supreme Ant Queen, it's the legendary Supreme Ant Queen. Boom! All of the powerful beings' eyes trembled. The legendary Supreme Ant Phoenix had truly appeared. Gee! Gee! The divine ant's cry was like the cry of a phoenix. The light expanded, and then countless streams of light swept out. Buzz, buzz. When these streams of light appeared, they resounded through the wind and thunder, and instantly turned into countless figures. They were soul-devouring divine ants. The soul-devouring divine ants came like locusts, covering the sky and covering the earth. They flickered with black and white light, and let out a sound that made one's heart tremble. Buzz, buzz. Those strange soul-devouring divine ants were unbelievably fast, and they appeared in midair in an instant. They were only the size of a pinky nail, and they revealed sharp fangs. Their legs were small and sharp, and they also had 4 wings. Their small wings could cut through the void, and they made people tremble in fear and their hair stand on end. Not good, it's the soul-devouring divine ants. Buzz. The experts from the Yao and Ji families were shocked. The most terrifying thing was that these terrifying soul-devouring divine ants came from the Supreme Ant Queen. These soul-devouring divine ants had evolved to a terrifying level. Not only could they devour flesh and primordial spirits, but they also had terrifying spiritual intelligence. They would seek revenge for the smallest grievance. Whoever provoked these soul-devouring divine ants would be hunted down by them. Buzz, buzz. The soul-devouring divine ants whizzed through the sky, devouring the experts from the Yao and Ji families. Instantly, miserable screams were heard. Another freak. Looking at Du Xiaohuang's body, Jialo Jiuyu, Jialo Kailing, and Violet Lotus Fairy waited in the distance. At this moment, they were all secretly shocked. This was definitely another freak. Kill. After that, Jialo Jiuekong, Jialo Jiuyu, Jialo Kailing and the others also joined in. The Yao clan and the Ji clan also had some extraordinary people, which made it difficult for Du Xiaohuang to deal with them. You guys are here too? Then, let's deal with them together. Du Xiaofu's gaze swept across the distant sky flame Phoenix tribe, who had already retreated. There were many experts from the Beast Alliance gathered there, and Du Xiaofu was familiar with some of them. Anyway, the distant sky flame Phoenix would not let him go. Taking advantage of the fact that the ancestors of the distant sky flame Phoenix tribe were not around, Du Xiaofu did not intend to let them go. Otherwise, these people would attack the people around him, and it would be troublesome in the future. Rumble. The thunder martial vein was activated, and suddenly, the sky was tilted. Streaks of purple gold lightning seemed to have spiritual intelligence, and immediately blasted towards the group of experts from the Beast Alliance. Those who were in the same group as the distant sky flame Phoenix were all Du Xiaofu's targets. Awah! The beasts roared like thunder, and their screams were endless. How could these demonic beasts be a match for Du Xiaofu? Their bodies and souls were directly destroyed. The aftermath of the purple gold lightning landed on the ground, and immediately, the ground cracked, revealing many bottomless cracks. The entire natural square was shaking violently in the midst of the massacre. The space shattered, and a terrifying energy storm swept out like a hurricane. Lightning flashed and thunder roared, and the killing intent was unparalleled. However, when these storms spread to a certain range, they instantly came to a halt. They were silently annihilated, and everything in the surroundings disappeared. Such a massacre sent chills down the spines of the surrounding living beings. They quickly retreated, not daring to touch it. Chapter 2405. Soon, the demonic beast experts from the Beast Alliance, and the experts from the Yao and Ji clans were all dealt with. Everything calmed down. Around the square, the living beings were shocked. They looked at the young man and the little girl, who had regained his resolute face. Their gazes trembled violently as if they had been electrocuted. It's said that this rock emperor Du Xiaofu is also known as the Demon King in the outside world. He is indeed the Demon King! Demon King! Definitely the Demon King! Too savage! Everyone's eyes were filled with horror as they sucked in a cold breath. Du Xiaofu put away the many qiankun bags that he had obtained. The corner of his eyes intentionally or unintentionally swept over the retreating crowd. When he saw a skinny figure covered by a hood, the corners of his mouth lifted into a smile without leaving a trace. After which, he acted as if nothing had happened. Could it be related to that place? The qiankun bag left behind by Tianwu Academy appeared in Du Xiaofu's hand once again. Just a moment ago, the qiankun bag in his chest vibrated and was clearly detected by Du Xiaofu's primordial spirit. The formless vibrations made Du Xiaofu feel that the qiankun bag seemed to be related to the strange place ahead. Grandma, big sister, I'll go ahead and take a look. Be careful. Du Xiaofu made his decision. The mysterious qiankun bag actually reacted again. He had to go ahead and take a look. No matter how dangerous it was, he had to find out if it was related to Tianwu Academy. You have to be careful. Don't be careless. Jialo Mola reminded Du Xiaofu. Although she was worried, she didn't say anything. Boom! Suddenly, as soon as Jialo Mola finished her words, the outline of the huge mountain ahead shone brightly and rumbled. Tens of thousands of talismans and mysterious inscriptions erupted and bloomed in an instant. Rumble. The earth shook as if a new world had been born. Waves of space rippled out like raging waves. Killing intent and ancient auras fluctuated, and a huge passageway appeared before everyone's eyes. It seems like a passageway has appeared. There shouldn't be any danger, right? The living beings around the square were overjoyed. There was a commotion in front of them. Something must have happened. We can go in now. Let's go and try to fight for the opportunity. The crowd was restless. Everyone raised their heads and looked over. Some living beings from unknown factions couldn't help but head. As these people began to attempt to move forward, many living beings in the surroundings immediately followed them, afraid that someone would beat them to it. Du Xiaofu had originally planned to go check it out himself, but at this moment, he felt a sudden fluctuation in front of him, and his eyes flickered. Let's go in, Jialo Kailing said to Du Xiaofu. There was a charming smile on her beautiful face. Anyone who saw her would be reluctant to look away. Especially her fiery figure, she had already attracted a lot of gazes. She secretly looked at Du Xiaofu. Nodding slightly at Jialo Kailing, Du Xiaofu smiled faintly. This elder sister of his was truly devastatingly beautiful. Not many people could compare to her beauty. Although Sun Qin, Jian Yating, and the others were slightly inferior, only Zhou Xiaoluo, Violet Lotus Fairy, and Hongwei, who had just arrived not long ago, could compare to her. Xiao Wang! Du Xiaofu was looking at Hongwei and Violet Lotus Fairy in the distance. Hongwei had already leaped into the air and came to Du Xiaowang's side. And Hongwei. Du Xiaowang spoke in a very intimate manner. Hongwei had saved her before. Otherwise, she wouldn't have had the chance to go to Wutong Mountain and successfully undergo nirvana for the Phoenix clan. Rock Emperor! Violet Lotus Fairy and some other experts of the demon realm nodded to Du Xiaofu politely. Du Xiaofu nodded in response. He was quite familiar with many of the figures. He was secretly curious about the demon realm. In the Kyushu region of the three continents, the demon realm was the place where the demon spirits gathered. It was undoubtedly the most mysterious place. "Good fellow, you are indeed fine. Rock Emperor!" The Sun family's old ancestor, Jiang family, and others also came and greeted Du Xiaofu. Especially the Sun family's old ancestor, was very happy and casual. Du Xiaofu was very polite. He also thanked the Sun family and Jiang family for their help. He didn't show any arrogance. "Let's go in too. It won't be good if the treasures are taken by others first." Seeing that more and more creatures had already entered, Du Xiaofu smiled and said to everyone, "Be careful." The Confucian school of agriculture, and others invisibly followed Du Xiaofu as the center. "That's right. It won't be good if others take it first." Sun Wu laughed heartily, and then stood up to follow. At this moment, the Buddhist school and others only nodded to Du Xiaofu from afar. Then, they also entered the passage. The group of people began to enter the vast mountain range. There were already a few people in front of them who had entered the valley. When they reached the entrance, Du Xiaofu's expression became slightly serious. Everyone didn't dare to be careless and began to slowly enter. At the entrance of the passage, the space was dark, and there was a bloody aura fluctuating. As soon as Du Xiaofu entered the canyon, he felt a heart-palpitating murderous aura spread out. What a powerful murderous aura! Du Xiaofu's expression became serious. With his current cultivation, even if he encountered an expert like Hole Laozu, the aura would not be so terrifying. Du Xiaofu felt that this bloody and murderous aura had something to do with the terrifying murderous aura he had experienced not long ago. This kind of murderous aura suppressed the primordial spirit and directly affected the soul, causing one's soul to tremble. "This place is too terrifying. My beast's soul is directly suppressed," Jialo Kaling said. She turned to look at Du Xiaofu and said, "How do you feel? There seems to be a murderous aura in here. The pressure is so strong that I can't see far. The murderous aura affects the soul and suppresses people. Everyone be careful." Du Xiaofu had already sensed it, and his face immediately changed. At this moment, his mind was actually suppressed, and it was difficult for him to see anything beyond 100 zhang away. This made Du Xiaofu even more nervous. This place was very terrifying. He was afraid that there was great danger. At this moment, many figures behind Du Xiaofu followed carefully. They also felt that under the influence of the murderous aura, their primordial spirit beast souls were all suppressed. For a moment, they did not dare to look deeper. They could only familiarize themselves with the surrounding environment. Under such a dangerous aura, who dared to be careless? "This place is too terrifying. Even the space is affected. I can't break through the air. The crushing force is getting stronger and stronger." Purple Lotus Fairy's expression was solemn. She raised her beautiful eyes and a purple light flashed under her feet. However, her speed was undoubtedly affected. This place not only suppressed the soul, but also the space. "It's as if the space is imprisoned by an expert." Hearing Purple Lotus Fairy's words, Du Xiaofu probed and felt the changes in this place. In this strange space, every step he took was heavier than usual, and the circulation of his qi consumed more than usual. At this moment, it was as if the gravity in this place was several times stronger than outside. It was as if a super expert had imprisoned the space. At this moment, Du Xiaofu's mind flashed. He thought of the sky-splitting three swords and seemed to have gained a lot of inspiration in this moment. However, now was not the time to comprehend the sky-splitting three swords. Du Xiaofu continued to move forward carefully. Fortunately, there were already people ahead, so there was no danger. Everyone followed Du Xiaofu slowly. No one dared to be careless. If they were careless, they would lose their lives. In this strange place, the murderous aura was getting stronger and stronger. The suppression of the space was also getting stronger. "Everyone be careful." Du Xiaofu spoke and reminded everyone again. "Understood." "Yes," everyone replied. "Xiaofu, I'm afraid this place is not ordinary. You have to be careful too." Old Granny Garuda's voice reached Du Xiaofu's ears. Granny, don't worry. Du Xiaofu responded softly and moved forward carefully. Time passed slowly. As the group moved forward, they did not encounter any danger. However, everyone stopped in their tracks. Their eyes were filled with confusion. Du Xiaofu also stopped in his tracks. This strange space was getting wider and wider. Countless mountains appeared. The towering mountains were connected, forming many canyons. In these canyons there were many passages that led in different directions. Father, which way should we go now? On Du Xiaohuang's harmless face, her eyes looked around, her voice carried a childish tone, she also did not know where to go. They have all separated. Zhou Xiaoluo's red lips parted slightly. At this moment, the living beings who had just entered together were starting to find their own passages. Little brother Rock Emperor, where do you think we should go? Sun Kuei pondered for a moment. Then, he looked at Du Xiaofu and asked. For a moment, he did not know where to go, and did not have any ideas. This strange place. Yes. Du Xiaofu frowned. At this moment, he was also worried. At this moment, his vision was getting darker and darker. His mind was becoming more and more obstructed. It was even suppressed by the space. Even in front of him, he could only see within a few hundred feet. His clear eyes moved slightly. Du Xiaofu looked around. His primordial spirit felt the Qiankuan bag in his arms. At this moment, there was no reaction from the Qiankuan bag. It seemed to have fallen silent. Lowering his head slightly and squinting his eyes, Du Xiaofu pondered for a moment. Then, he said to the group, Everyone, let's split up. That way, our chances will be higher. What do you think? If we go together, perhaps the danger will be lower, but there will be many inconveniences. Yes. I think we should split up. Our chances will be higher. Since we are already here, how can we catch a tiger cub without entering the tiger's den? Sun Kuei understood Du Xiaofu's words. Although there were dangers, there should also be opportunities. If everyone stayed together, they would be safer. However, they would not be able to obtain any opportunities. All right, let's split up and go first, Purple Lotus Fairy said. Then, she led the Demon Realm experts and left. I'm leaving. Hengwei bid farewell to Du Xiaohuang and stuck out her tongue at Du Xiaofu. She looked very cute. Then, she turned around and left. The Demon Realm has always been mysterious. Gazing at the purple lightning profound cauldron and Hong Yue's departing figures, old Granny Jialamola said, Let's split up. Be careful. Then, Zhou Xiaoluo, Kong Sansi, and the other school of agriculture and Confucianism people agreed. The golden-winged Great Pink Clan and Du Xiaofu began to split up. Xiaofu, your grandfather has split up with us. Be careful, old Granny Jialamola said. Then, she led the golden-winged Great Pink Clan away. Girl, Xiaoba, you go with your great-grandmother, Du Xiaofu Mola suddenly said. Intentionally or otherwise, he looked behind him. All right. Du Xiaohuang and Du Xiaoba did not object. They nodded in agreement. Du Xiaofu also sent the main domain ferocious beast mount that he had subdued along the way to Du Xiaohuang's side. Very soon, Du Xiaofu Mola, who had been surrounded by quite a few people, was all alone. His lips curled into a faint smile as he casually chose a canyon and carefully stepped in. Everyone, be careful. All right. Nearby, Sun Qin turned her head slightly. She could not help but be surprised as she looked at the tall figure who had already set off by himself. The deeper he went, the greater the suppression. Fortunately, with Du Xiaofu Mola's current cultivation, he was not too greatly affected. After an unknown period of time, Du Xiaofu's figure suddenly paused as if he had sensed something. Then, he stopped, and a smile appeared on his face. Father! Not long after, a rather young and tender voice came from the dark and gloomy space behind him. Then, a small figure descended. Who else could it be but little Xingxing? As long as you're fine. Du Xiaofu Mola smiled. He never thought that little Xingxing would actually come. Afterwards, Du Xiaofu Mola's face changed in surprise when he sensed little Xingxing's presence. He said, Little Xingxing, you've broken through? Yep, late Saint Beast. Little Xingxing smiled happily. Afterwards, she looked at Du Xiaofu Mola in surprise and said, Father, have you broken through as well? Du Xiaofu nodded his head. However, at this moment, his heart was filled with shock and helplessness. To think that little Xingxing would have broken through once again. As the daughter of the dragon god, this was way too sick, wasn't it? Hee, father is very impressive too. He broke through again. Little Xingxing smiled. Both father and daughter had broken through, so they were extremely happy. Sure, conceal your presence. Someone has been following us. Suddenly, Du Xiaofu Mola sent a message to little Xingxing as a slight smile appeared on his face. Is that so? Little Xingxing Mola raised her eyebrows. She wanted to spy, but she was suppressed at the moment, so she could not spy very far. But then, little Xingxing completely concealed her presence. Nothing leaked out. The father and daughter continued to set off slowly and carefully. They did not dare to be careless. Du Xiaofu Mola asked about Du Xiaoyao's situation. Little Xingxing said to Du Xiaofu Mola very helplessly, Du Xiaoyao seems to have discovered something and doesn't want me to follow him anymore. Stingy guy, I only took advantage of him a little. Du Xiaofu Mola narrowed his eyes. Only then did he know that little Xingxing and Du Xiaoyao were safe after separating from him. However, Du Xiaoyao discovered an opportunity later on, and the greatest benefit fell on little Xingxing. Little Xingxing took the opportunity to break through to late Saint Beast. Not long ago, Du Xiaoyao seemed to have discovered something again. Her expression was very special as she left alone. Little Xingxing also arrived here and sensed Du Xiaofu's presence. Only then did the father and daughter meet again. Chapter 2406. Inside the canyon, Du Xiaofu and little Xingxing walked cautiously. Father, it seems to be those people from the Buddhist sect. After a while, there was finally some movement in front. Little Xingxing spoke. Du Xiaofu stopped and saw that there were many figures in the dark canyon passageway not far ahead. They were the Buddhist sects Jiu Ling, Hongluan, and the others. At this moment, Jiu Ling, Hongluan, and the others from the Buddhist sect seemed to have also seen Du Xiaofu and little Xingxing. They turned their heads and smiled from afar, then continued to walk cautiously. What kind of skeletons are these? Little Xingxing's voice sounded again. At this time, there were already many skeletons of monsters on both sides of the canyon passageway. The skeletons were eerily white, and the outlines of the skeletons were extremely large. They glowed with a white light, and most of them were buried in the ground. How did these monsters die? Are they immemorial monsters? Du Xiaofu raised his eyebrows. These monster skeletons seemed to be very powerful, but they were killed here. From the color, they should have been here for a long time. Ka. Suddenly, there was a series of ka sounds all around. Then, amidst everyone's astonishment, the eerily white monster skeletons in the canyon instantly stood up amidst the ka sounds. Be careful. Du Xiaofu's eyes were shocked. He immediately circulated his Xian Qi and was on guard. At the same time, the Buddhist sect's people in front were already fighting with these monster skeletons. The monster skeletons were suddenly no longer grayish-white, but emitted a terrifying light. They were filled with bloody and evil aura, and instantly pounced. Amit Ba! Ka! Someone from the Buddhist sect chanted the name of Buddha. Buddha's light filled the air, and as the hand seals formed, light suddenly appeared in his hand. Sanskrit fluctuated, as if chanting Buddha's voice. A palm print directly hit a huge monster skeleton in front of him. The palm print attracted the energy of heaven and earth, and under the pressure, the momentum was extremely shocking. Bang bang! Bang! Under the palm print, the huge monster skeleton immediately split into pieces, turning into powder on the ground. Jiu Ling attacked. A pair of eyes were filled with divine light like the stars in the sky, and people couldn't look away. There were 9 scars on his head, like 9 mysterious runes shining. At this moment, Jiu Ling's art, he had reached the Saint Realm's initial Saint Realm, surpassing Hun. Jiu Ling's attack. Jiu Ling's attack. He had reached the initial stage Saint Realm. His cultivation, surpassed Hengluan. La! Ka, golden ray light like golden thunder lightning, Jiu Ling's the bones like several huge beast skeletons also pounced towards Du Xiaofu and Little Xingxing. Little Xingxing let out a low cry, and the aura around his body collapsed. The huge beast skeletons seemed to be alive, and when they sensed Little Xingxing's aura, they actually began to show some awareness, and slowly took a few steps back. Then, an astonishing scene appeared. Those monster skeletons didn't attack Jiu Ling. Instead, they turned around and began to attack the people of Buddhism. However, Du Xiaofu wasn't so lucky. The monster skeletons weren't afraid of him. So, the monster skeletons attacked him. Bully! Du Xiaofu was helpless. Then, a series of attacks swept out. A deep and muffled sound spread, shattering a lot of monster skeletons. However, more and more monster skeletons appeared in the surroundings. It seemed as if these dead demon beasts were coming back to life. The monster skeletons rushed forward as if they were resurrected. Their sharp and strange sound also resounded in the entire canyon. Father, these monster skeletons don't seem to dare to do anything to me. You stay by my side, let's go. Little Xingxing said to Du Xiaofu complacently. Yes. Du Xiaofu replied. After carefully sensing, these strange monster skeletons seemed to have some remnant souls of demon beasts. The aura on Little Xingxing's body seemed to have an absolute restraining effect on the remnant souls in these monster skeletons. Sticking close to Little Xingxing, Du Xiaofu and Little Xingxing directly passed through the gorge. When the people from the school of Buddhism saw that the strange beast bones that seemed to be about to come back to life did not attack Du Xiaofu and Little Xingxing, they found it extremely strange. They looked at each other, but there was nothing they could do. They had no choice but to deal with more and more strange beast bones. They could only envy Du Xiaofu and Little Xingxing. Du Xiaofu also didn't have the intention to help the people of Buddhism. Although there were many strange monster skeletons, their attack power was ordinary. From the strength that the people of Buddhism displayed at this moment, they couldn't really threaten the people of Buddhism. They would only be delayed for a period of time. As for Du Xiaofu, if he could get away, he could get rid of the people of Buddhism if he had a harvest earlier. Before treasures, Du Xiaofu would not be courteous to anyone. Around a while later, the commotion from the battle between the people of Buddhism and the strange monster skeletons behind Du Xiaofu and Little Xingxing became smaller and smaller. The heavy sounds of battle gradually disappeared as well. Du Xiaofu and Little Xingxing had already passed through the strange monster skeletons. The area before them gradually became empty. However, the various invisible suppressive forces in the space became greater and greater. Have we made it out? Little Xingxing said softly. Golden flames filled his eyes. Slash. As soon as Little Xingxing finished speaking, the sound of something rushing through the air suddenly tore through space and descended. Swish! Swish! An extremely scorching pulse of presence immediately descended. It pierced through space and shot over with great speed. It was so fast that it only left behind a scarlet-red energy mark in the air. Spatial ripples spread out as talisman inscriptions shone brightly. Only when the scarlet-red energy mark arrived before Little Xingxing did he discover that it was a strange fish wrapped in flames. It possessed a shockingly scorching presence. It was as long as an arm, but its vicious eyes were frightening. It was filled with a murderous aura. It was just too fast. By the time the strange fire fish approached, it was already too late for Little Xingxing to dodge. Be careful! Boom! Du Xiaofu shouted as his expression changed. With a flip of his hand, a claw covered in golden light enveloped down. The claw instantly distorted space, and it carried a peerlessly domineering aura as it trapped the strange fire fish within it. Swish! Swish! At this moment, the fire fish actually twisted in a strange manner. Space fluctuated, and it directly emerged from Du Xiaofu's claw space. After which, it opened its mouth and bit at Little Xingxing beside Du Xiaofu. Little Xingxing hurriedly dodged. However, He was too fast and avoided his vital spots. The fire fish instantly bit little Xingxing's shoulder. As it rapidly moved, scarlet gold dragon scales appeared on little Xingxing's shoulder. Crack! A clear sound was emitted. The strange fire fish's bite was blocked by the dragon scales on little Xingxing's body. It was unable to penetrate little Xingxing's dragon scales. As if it had sensed something, the fire fish immediately lifted its ferocious head. It instantly turned into a blazing talisman inscription. Like a divine flame, it was about to drill into little Xingxing's forehead. Humph! Humph! Little Xingxing was caught off guard and became somewhat flustered. He was also furious. His body moved back slightly as a golden flame whizzed out. It immediately swept around the fire fish. The surrounding space was directly sealed as the golden flame incinerated everything. Swish! The strange fire fish revealed itself again. Its ferocious eyes were filled with terror. After a deep sonic boom, its body was incinerated by the golden flame and disappeared without a trace. This should be a kind of remnant soul energy. It can attack the primordial spirit and beast soul. Sigh. Du Xiaofu's expression became serious as he said to little Xingxing. The sudden appearance of this strange thing had made little Xingxing flustered. One could well imagine that even an expert of the intermediate stage of the sage realm would have died if he had encountered this strange thing. But little Xingxing didn't know what to do. Du Xiaofu sighed and secretly focused his attention. No wonder it was said that Saint Realm experts couldn't come out after entering the Heaven Burial Death Trap. He had experienced it deeply just now. What a strange thing! Little Xingxing pursed his lips. He was also startled. There was still some lingering fear in his heart. He was too careless just now. All right, be careful. All right. Du Xiaofu reminded little Xingxing. That strange fire fish had escaped from his hand a moment ago. This was enough to show how strange it was. Little Xingxing's defensive power was also extremely strong. Even though the fire fish had bitten him, it hadn't been able to bite through his dragon scales. However, he couldn't be careless next time. Both of them cautiously walked forward. The surrounding space began to become desolate. The grayish energy was getting denser and denser. Be careful! Du Xiaofu suddenly shouted. At this time, in midair, several blazing and strange phantoms appeared out of thin air, directly penetrating the space and rushing down at an extremely fast speed. These strange virtual shadows transformed into the virtual shadows of various kinds of beasts. There were wolves, flood dragons, and ominous birds. Their figures weren't big. However, their auras were very strange. Swish! Swish! There was a strange little flood dragon virtual shadow. Its target was Du Xiaofu. Its speed was extremely fast. However, Du Xiaofu had been on high alert all along. Golden light suddenly appeared under his feet without any hesitation when he discovered that this virtual shadow had rushed down. The golden light flashed, and his figure fiercely dodged to one side at an extremely fast speed. Swish! Swish! The strange flood dragon virtual shadow didn't hit its target. It immediately turned around and pounced again. Its speed was even faster than Du Xiaofu's. Du Xiaofu was suppressed in all kinds of ways in this space. However, these strange creatures weren't suppressed by humans. Du Xiaofu's eyes darkened. He deployed the green spirit armor. Golden light shone brightly. Lightning immediately appeared in his hand. At the same time, a lightning force tore through the space. A lightning claw distorted the space again. It directly trapped the flood dragon virtual shadow and tore it into pieces. Swish! At the same time, lightning exploded. The remaining virtual shadows were also directly destroyed by Du Xiaofu's lightning force. The lightning force seemed to be the nemesis of these strange energies. It could directly destroy them. These energies are afraid of the aura of the purest yang, Du Xiaofu informed little Xingxing. As long as they were on guard, these strange energies would be easy to deal with. They wouldn't be much of a threat. As he spoke, Du Xiaofu continued to attack. He shattered the strange, scorching energy that had just appeared. Afterwards, the faint aura of a soul remnant rippled and dispersed. Du Xiaofu was surprised. His Yuan spirit sensed a ripple. The silvernet soul devouring lightning within his Yuan spirit was eager to try. Swish! More and more strange, scorching energy appeared. It lunged towards Du Xiaofu and little Xingxing. Let's try it. Try it. Du Xiaofu's figure retreated a little. His eyes darkened, and a silver-gold electric arc flashed out from between his eyebrows. Suddenly, lightning flashed and thunder roared. A silver-gold electric arc spread out and turned into a lightning vortex. A suction force gushed out and spread out in an instant, directly devouring the dense strange energy in the surroundings. Under the silvernet soul devouring lightning, Du Xiaofu immediately sensed that the strange energy could actually be refined by the silvernet soul devouring lightning and directly strengthen his Yuan spirit. A strand of this strange, scorching energy was no weaker than the Yuan spirit of a domain realm cultivator. Whoosh! Little Xingxing attacked. He was prepared as well. Golden flames whistled and the talisman inscriptions shone brightly. They were also the nemesis of the strange energy. Swish, swish! Swish! In the next moment, the strange energy exploded in the air again. It pierced through space and shot out. Little Xingxing, let me have it! Swish! Now that he had tasted the benefits of the silvernet soul devouring thunder, Du Xiaofu revealed a smile on his face. This strange energy might have been extremely troublesome for others, but for him, the silvernet soul devouring thunder was a great tonic for his primordial spirit. The strange energy immediately turned into pure energy under the silvernet soul devouring lightning in his body, nourishing and strengthening his Yuan spirit. Rumble! Du Xiaofu activated the spirit thunder, and the surrounding void flashed with lightning and thunder. Du Xiaofu's figure moved like lightning, and the strange energy was directly devoured, sucked into the lightning vortex. Little Xingxing stopped attacking when he saw this and simply retreated to Du Xiaofu's side. Let's continue, hee. Du Xiaofu activated the spiritual thunder and continued forward. Strands of strange, scorching energy broke through the air in front of them and was immediately absorbed by Du Xiaofu's spiritual thunder. Finally, it was refined by the silvernet soul devouring lightning. Although the energy of each strange energy was not great and the silvernet soul devouring lightning was also consumed, Du Xiaofu gained more and more benefits as he absorbed more and more of the strange, scorching energy. After quite some time, Du Xiaofu and little Xingxing finally walked out of the region of strange energy. No more strange energy appeared in the surroundings. Du Xiaofu's spiritual thunder had probably absorbed no less than several hundred strands of strange energy, which had been refined by the silvernet soul devouring lightning. It was obvious that he had gained quite a lot of benefits. Little Xingxing was rather surprised when he saw all of this, but he was no longer surprised. Is there no more? After walking out of the region, the path ahead became rather narrow again. Du Xiaofu felt rather regretful that there was no more strange energy to devour to strengthen his Yuan spirit. However, Du Xiaofu estimated that the power of his Yuan spirit would improve once he completely refined the silvernet soul devouring lightning. This was a pleasant surprise. Looking back, Du Xiaofu raised his eyebrows. The Buddhist behind him had long disappeared without a trace. There's danger again. What is this place? Before Du Xiaofu had finished speaking, little Xingxing's voice sounded. He seemed to have discovered something. Qi! Qi! Almost at the same time as little Xingxing's voice sounded, a patch of resplendent runes suddenly appeared in the space in front of them. A large area of space was enveloped by the resplendent light. Whoosh! Qi! At the same time, dazzling runes continuously appeared in the space. A majestic energy enveloped the entire space, causing one's soul to tremble. It's a Yuan spirit attack! Qi! Little Xingxing's voice sounded again. At this moment, countless blood-red energy spots suddenly appeared in the space around them. They were like thousands of blood-red hairs, so small that they were almost invisible to the naked eye. They then spread towards Du Xiaofu and little Xingxing. Boom! Qi! This attack seemed to target the Yuan spirit. Du Xiaofu did not dare to be careless at all. A golden halo enveloped his body, accompanied by purple lightning. Whoosh! The blood-red energy carried a shocking bloody aura and seemed to be everywhere. However, at this moment, it seemed to be afraid of Du Xiaofu's lightning ultimacy, and did not dare to get too close. Swish, swish. However, this did not last long. The blood-red energy light was slightly obstructed. Then, to Du Xiaofu's surprise, a resplendent rune light suddenly erupted from the blood-red energy. It gathered into a terrifying Yuan spirit attack and directly surged towards Du Xiaofu with a thunderous aura. Boom! Boom! Du Xiaofu narrowed his eyes and was secretly shocked. He immediately gathered a blazing purple flame and swept it out with the purple flame demonic phoenix's supreme beast energy. At this moment, the mysterious runes on the blood-colored energy radiance shone brightly. It was so strange that it directly rushed into Du Xiaofu's palm and then drilled into his palm. It was completely unafraid of Du Xiaofu's purple flame demonic phoenix supreme beast ability. It was even unafraid of the lightning profound. It's too strange! Du Xiaofu became more and more surprised. The strange energy surged from his palm and then went straight to his brain. Du Xiaofu did not dare to be careless. Suddenly, a majestic qi surged. Under the pressure of the terrifying energy, the blood-red energy was instantly crushed in his body. Oh no! Oh no! At this moment, Du Xiaofu's expression changed. Just as the blood-red energy turned into fragments, Du Xiaofu felt a shudder run through his body. The strange energy directly accelerated and drilled into his brain. Boom! Boom! In a flash, Du Xiaofu was about to react and block it, but the Yuan spirit meridian soul in his mind suddenly reacted. Lightning flashed and thunder roared, directly destroying the energy. Boom! Subconsciously, Du Xiaofu's lightning martial vein was also activated. Under the lightning martial vein, the strange blood-red energy trembled in his body as if it was afraid. Then, it was completely destroyed by the lightning martial vein. At this moment, Little Star, who was not far away, was very calm. The blood-red energy also entered her body, but there seemed to be no reaction to it. She was completely fine. Chi. The blood-red hair-like strange energy in the sky was vast and mighty. It was like a stormy sea, constantly crashing into Little Star behind Du Xiaofu. With the help of the Yuan spirit in his mind and the lightning martial vein in his body, Du Xiaofu frowned and ignored it. He allowed the strange blood-red energy to enter his body. Then, in his body and mind, it was destroyed by the purple-gold heavenly palace and the spiritual thunder in his mind. Chapter 2407. Little Xingxing, are you all right? Du Xiaofu asked in surprise as he looked at little Xingxing, who seemed to be completely fine. It doesn't seem to have much effect on me. It can't hurt my dragon soul, little Xingxing said proudly. This strange blood-red energy had no effect at all in her body. Hearing this, Du Xiaofu was speechless. Since they were not afraid of these strange energies, Du Xiaofu and little Xingxing decided not to block these strange energy attacks at all. They continued to move forward. An endless stream of strange blood-red energy attacks surged into Du Xiaofu and little Xingxing's bodies, but to no avail. In the end, it seemed to have sensed something. At this moment, the endless stream of strange blood-red energy gradually formed a terrifying blood-red vortex in front of Du Xiaofu and little Xingxing. Within the terrifying blood-red vortex, frightening energy ripples were like a sea of blood. The aura was enough to make a saint suck in a breath of cold air and not dare to touch it. However, Du Xiaofu and little Xingxing were still within it. Their expressions were calm, as if they were not affected at all. Break! Although they were not afraid of the terrifying blood-red vortex, it still blocked their path. Du Xiaofu roared and the thunder martial veins swept out. Purple-gold lightning erupted and destroyed it. After a while, the path ahead became wider and wider. It was also at this moment that the endless stream of strange blood-red energy disappeared without a trace. The primordial spirit Crimson Horse Monkey's body returned. It sat on the 9 revolutions divine Lei Lian and continued to close its eyes to refine the strange and scorching energy it had devoured. We're finally out. Okay. Little Xingxing's little eyes turned and she took a deep breath. How far had it been? She did not dare to be careless because of the dangers along the way. Du Xiaofu also put away the Thunder Martial Vein and Blue Spirit armor. He raised his head and looked ahead. At this moment, the two of them had already walked out of the strange place. Ahead of them was an even darker mountain range. Rumble! Rumble! A series of deep sonic booms came from the mountain range in front of them. Seems like someone is fighting. Someone has already reached this place. Yes. Du Xiaofu raised his eyebrows. He and Little Xingxing looked at each other. And their figures immediately, the two of them rushed out. However, in this space, Du Xiaofu and Little Xingxing's, their speed was greatly affected. They could not be compared to the outside and could not tear the void. Space. When Xiaofu. It was as if the passages from the outside, just from the outside was. They all the passages from the outside to the outside from the outside. That in the end, they all the passages from the outside from the outside from the outside. Like, was his xing. Duel. It was it. Sounded S. He's a S. S to S2. Sun Qin is a member of the Sun family. Du Xiaofu was a little surprised. The figures that appeared in front of him were Sun Qin, Sun Wu ancestor, and the others from the Sun family. From the looks of it, there seemed to be a few people missing. They might have been killed. Brother Sun Wu, you guys are fast. Du Xiaofu saw that the Sun family was in trouble. He had received many favors from the Sun family, so he did not hesitate and directly rushed over. Rock Emperor, be careful. Just as Du Xiaofu approached, Sun Qin shouted. The Nirvana's halo fluctuated above the void. At the same time, Du Xiaofu also felt something strange. He instantly raised his eyebrows. Suddenly, a figure leaped out. Then, a huge fist was condensed with terrifying profound qi. It was filled with mysterious runes and it fiercely smashed towards Du Xiaofu. The energy contained in the fist directly shattered the void. An invisible force directly shook the space, and it was accompanied by a bloody aura. This was the Sun family's martial skill. The one who attacked was an expert from the Sun family. Du Xiaofu's eyes were shocked. He sensed something strange. His face suddenly darkened. He shook his arm, and golden light burst out. A fist seal condensed and finally collided with the former's fist seal. Bang! Bang! A deep muffled sound exploded. The violent force at the place where the two fists collided directly exploded the space. The invisible force surged out in all directions, and the aura was overbearing. Dang dang! Bang! The Sun family's expert's figure was immediately forced back a dozen steps. Du Xiaofu immediately looked over. Only then did he see that the Sun family's expert's eyes were scarlet red. His expression and aura were also extremely abnormal. Rock Emperor, their primordial spirits are affected. Sun Qin shouted. Her graceful figure instantly took the opportunity to appear in front of the Sun family's expert. The mysterious runes on the talisman burned brightly. She condensed a hand seal, and finally, several hand seals fell on the Sun family's expert's head. Only then did the redness in the Sun family's expert's eyes recede. Then, he was astonished, as if he didn't know what had happened. Rock Emperor, there is a strange energy in the surroundings that affects the primordial spirits. If you don't pay attention, the primordial spirits with weak primordial spirits will fall into a demonic state and suffer from qi deviation. When the time comes, you will not be able to distinguish between friend and foe, and will directly kill your companions. The Sun family's ancestor arrived at Du Xiaofu's side. At this moment, his old face was pale. His expression was grave, and he was panting. Several Sun family's experts were also affected at this moment. Roar! Seeing this, Du Xiaofu's eyes flickered. Suddenly, a golden light fluctuated in his eyes, and a vigorous aura directly swept out. At the same time, Du Xiaofu's mouth roared like a dragon roaring in the 9 heavens, and a divine elephant trumpeting came out. It was as if a heavenly thunder had exploded in the space, and a loud bang reverberated in the void. Ayo! The sound wave shook the sky, like a dragon roaring in the nine heavens. The sound wave spread out like a tide of air, shaking the space violently and distorting it. Chi-la-la! This sound wave contained the power to move mountains and overturn seas. It was enough to make the mountains collapse and the earth crack, destroying everything. It was Du Xiaofu's domineering way that contained a domineering martial intent. The sound wave swept out, making a strange sound of wind and thunder, like the roar of heavenly thunder. When the sound wave fell, the Sun family's experts who were affected all returned to normal. Each of them revealed a confused look, as if they didn't notice that they were affected just now. Retreat quickly! At the same time, the Sun family's great ancestor was overjoyed, and immediately ordered the Sun family's experts to escape from that strange place. Du Xiaofu secretly protected them, and everyone successfully escaped. That was close! The Sun family's great ancestor and the other Sun family's experts gasped with lingering fear. There were dangers all along the way, and several of the Sun family's experts had died. Rock Emperor, did you encounter any danger along the way? Sun Qin's beautiful eyes looked at him. Du Xiaofu was grateful. Fortunately, he had helped just now. Otherwise, who knew how many of the Sun family's experts would have died? It was also quite dangerous, Du Xiaofu said. He was also secretly focused. If he had known that it would lead to this place, he wouldn't have separated from Du Xiaohuang and the others. It was a dangerous journey, and he couldn't help but be a little worried. After a short pause, Du Xiaofu, Little Xingxing, and the Sun family's experts continued to move forward. They were still very careful along the way. No one dared to be careless. There was danger at every step, and they could die at any time. They didn't know how big the space was. As they entered this strange mountain forest, the deeper they went, the greater the pressure on them seemed to be. In the end, the Sun family's experts couldn't help but set up chi halos to resist the pressure. The space was confined, and it was difficult to fly. Forcibly flying consumed a lot of great Tao. Du Xiaofu didn't dare to take the risk. He could only walk with his feet on the ground. The path under his feet was rugged mountain roads and valleys. Hey, be careful! After a long distance, Du Xiaofu was surprised that there was no danger. Just then, he felt a slight dizziness in his mind that could affect his primordial spirit. At the same time, Du Xiaofu also felt an invisible pressure penetrating his mind and crushing his primordial spirit in his Naiwen palace. Hey! However, at this moment, Du Xiaofu was once again surprised to find that just as this invisible force penetrated his mind, the spiritual thunder in his primordial spirit immediately released its pressure. Lightning flashed and thunder roared, causing the force to reveal itself. In the face of the spiritual thunder, it retreated rapidly as if it had seen a ghost and didn't dare to penetrate it again. Du Xiaofu was not surprised by the effect of the spiritual thunder. However, Du Xiaofu was more and more shocked by this strange place. There were unexpected dangers everywhere. Roar! Roar! A roar was heard instantly. At the same time, a huge ferocious demonic beast leaped out from the void in front of them. It was like a mountain as it stepped out. Its roar was deafening. Its huge hooves were like pillars in the sky. They were already directly stomping down on Du Xiaofu and the others. Du Xiaofu had already informed Sun Qin, Ancestor Sun Yi, and the rest were already on guard. Little Xingxing's slightly tender face sank. Profound chi that covered the sky and earth surged out from his body. As his shout sounded, he waved his small hand and a fist imprint immediately turned into a blurry scarlet-red light shadow. It shot out like a bolt of lightning. The fist imprint contained a majestic and terrifying golden flame energy. The entire space trembled and the void rumbled. Following which, it directly charged towards the huge demonic beast hoof that was descending from the sky. Little Xingxing's blazing golden fist print, under the astonished gazes of the Sun family, burned the void with the blazing golden flame talisman inscriptions. Finally, like a meteorite, it crashed under the huge demonic beast's hooves. Boom! At this moment, the entire void trembled with a muffled sound. Space turned sluggish for a moment. Then, a glaring golden flame talisman inscription light burst out from the bottom of the demonic beast's hooves. Roar! Roar! Following the miserable roar of the huge demonic beast, a thunderous sonic boom exploded in the sky. The sonic boom suddenly resounded across the sky like thunder. Crack, crack! Crack! In the sky, a monstrous blazing aura erupted. The huge hooves of the huge demonic beast collapsed layer by layer, instantly turning into fragments that scattered everywhere. The huge demonic beast was smashed into pieces by little Xingxing's punch. It's an energy illusion! Sun Qin's brows were tightly knitted. The terrifying demonic beast earlier was only an energy illusion. A woo! Roar! However, everything suddenly changed. A huge shadow of a ferocious wolf broke through the sky and opened its ferocious mouth. It was probably over 1,000 feet in size. In an instant, it pounced out from behind everyone. It carried a kind of monstrous aura of blood and evil that absolutely affected everyone's soul. Such a ferocious wolf was like a living creature. It had silently approached behind everyone, making it difficult for people to detect. As soon as the ferocious wolf illusion appeared, it directly pounced on Du Xiaofu. Du Xiaofu suddenly turned his head and looked directly at the ferocious wolf. The ferocious wolf's crimson eyes suddenly flashed with a bloody light. Its aura was terrifying and strange. Without any pause, Du Xiaofu's figure retreated slightly. A punch blasted out, carrying an extremely terrifying energy storm. In an instant, it swept out in all directions. The golden talisman inscription enveloped the surrounding space like an arc of light. Qi La! Qi! This punch was incomparably overbearing. It instantly blasted the ferocious wolf. However, this ferocious wolf seemed to have spiritual intelligence. Its huge body suddenly turned around, and its sharp claws stretched out from the space. The bloody aura on its body assaulted the nostrils. It actually avoided Du Xiaofu's punch. With the bloody aura, its claws were already in front of Du Xiaofu. An energy illusion with the aura of a holy beast. Qi La! At this moment, the experts of the Sun family had already turned their heads. They felt the aura of this giant wolf illusion. They were extremely shocked. This illusion actually had the aura of a holy beast. In the time it took for a spark to fly off a flint, Du Xiaofu's face sank slightly. His attacks were suppressed in this space, whether it was speed or strength, but this fierce wolf's energy phantom was not affected in the slightest. Break! Using the wave-like carefree steps, Du Xiaofu's body suddenly leaned back. In an instant, his fist shook again. Immediately, a space dent appeared in front of him, and it heavily collided with the ferocious wolf's claw. Bang! Bang! Such a collision shattered a large area of space. The fist and the claw suddenly collided with each other. Under the low and deep sound of the explosion, the resplendent runes shattered. The monstrous energy turned into a storm and swept out. The giant wolf illusion was directly shattered. The surrounding space was affected by the impact. It was as if the mountains were collapsing and the earth was splitting. The huge rocks were smashed, revealing cracks. The ground cracked, and the gravel flew everywhere. Under the havoc of this terrifying energy, everyone was a little shocked. After the two giant beasts were destroyed by Du Xiaofu and Little Xingxing, the surroundings returned to normal. I didn't expect there to be some energy demonic beast illusions here. They seem to be some ancient demonic beast illusions. Yes. Sun Kuang's old ancestor was puzzled. The giant beast and ferocious wolf illusions just now were not ordinary. Their original bodies had long disappeared. He had only seen them in the records of the sacred palace. These energy demonic beast illusions are very strange. They seem to have spiritual intelligence, Little Xingxing said. This place is strange. Everything is possible. Everyone be extra careful, Du Xiaofu said to everyone. Everyone continued to move forward. With the attack of the energy demonic beast illusions just now, they did not dare to be careless. Along the way, Du Xiaofu, Little Xingxing, Sun Qin, and Sun Kuang's old ancestor were always paying attention to their surroundings. Gradually, in the void ahead, strange demonic beast roars could be heard from time to time. The sound became louder and louder, and finally reached the point of deafening. Everyone became more and more serious. In this strange place, everyone was suppressed in various ways. Even their vision was limited. They had no choice but to be more careful. Chi! A blood-red waterfall suddenly fell from the sky. In an instant, the space was filled with an unparalleled evil aura. It shrouded the void as if it was going to cover everything in the void. It was like a cloud hanging from the sky. Du Xiaofu raised his eyes and swept his gaze over. It was actually an extremely gigantic phantom of a ferocious bird. Under its terrifying ferocious might, it crushed the space and directly appeared above everyone's heads. Judging from its aura, it was much stronger than the ferocious wolf phantom earlier. His face darkened. Du Xiaofu's golden talisman inscription spread out instantly. The rock's chaos-crushing claw swept out directly. Boom! Chi! As the claw exploded with golden light, it was as if it was going to tear the space apart. Dazzling talisman inscriptions wreaked havoc like golden lightning. It was as if a golden-winged rock was about to spread its wings and soar to the 9 heavens. An incomparably domineering aura erupted from Du Xiaofu's body. This domineering and fierce aura made the ferocious bird's blood-red eyes tremble in fear. It was as if it was facing a king. Golden light burst out from the claw like countless golden lightning snakes. With an incomparably domineering posture, the claw viciously grabbed the ferocious bird's body. Hua-la-la! The terrifying golden claw fell. Facing the huge ferocious bird, a terrifying force swept out and destroyed it without any delay. Then, the bird collapsed. What a monster! Sun Kuang's old ancestor, Sun Qin, and the others sighed. This guy could still erupt with such ferocious power in this environment. It was really terrifying. They didn't know how the Ji family and Yao family offended the Rock Emperor. They could be considered unlucky. Woo! A giant python suddenly appeared in the place where the ferocious bird was destroyed and directly swept towards Du Xiaofu. Chi-la! At the same time, Du Xiaofu used his hand as a sword, and a sword ray with dazzling talisman inscriptions swept out. It cut through the void as if it was cutting through tofu, causing a huge crack to appear in the spatial ripples. Under the sword ray, the giant python's shadow was directly cut into pieces. Sun Kuang's old ancestor and the other experts of the Sun family were stunned. Although they had already seen Du Xiaofu kill Jijin and Yao Lingsui, they still couldn't help but feel shocked. The space was suppressed, and these energy shadows were like tigers that had grown wings in this space. Yet they were destroyed so easily by Du Xiaofu. Ayo! Ayo! Roar! Killing 2 demonic beast shadows in succession seemed to have caused a chain reaction. Suddenly, there were many beast roars in the surroundings. Let's go. We must have caused some commotion. If we are trapped by these energy shadows, it will definitely be dangerous if we consume too much of our xianqi. Sun Kuang's old ancestor said, and at the same time, he suddenly sped away. Du Xiaofu raised his eyebrows. He understood Sun Kuang's old ancestor's words and immediately sped up, not daring to stay. At this moment, increasing his speed within this space consumed several times more xianqi than usual. Even using his attack power consumed quite a bit of xianqi. Therefore, once he was trapped by those strange energy demonic beasts, even if he was able to kill them, it would be equivalent to pulling himself into a dangerous situation if he expended too much xianqi. In this strange and dangerous place, they might encounter great danger at 40. Du Xiaofu didn't dare to be careless. Whoosh whoosh! Du Xiaofu and the others didn't have the time to worry about the consumption of their energy. Du Xiaofu and the others sped up. The moment they sensed the aura of the energy demonic beast in front of them, Du Xiaofu and little Xingxing would immediately lead the others to avoid it. It wasn't that Du Xiaofu and little Xingxing were afraid of these strange energy shadows, but they were afraid that if they delayed any longer, they would attract a large group of these strange energy demonic beasts. If they formed a beast tide, the consequences would be severe. However, no matter how Du Xiaofu and little Xingxing avoided them with their sharp mental strength, they still encountered many energy demonic beasts. They could only kill them immediately. Ayo! This went on for more than half an hour. In the void, dozens of ferocious energy demonic beast phantoms appeared, filling the void like a mountain. Their huge ferocious eyes were filled with a bloody color, and their pupils were empty and filled with killing intent. These dozens of energy demonic beasts stared at Du Xiaofu and the others. Their bloody eyes glowed. At the same time, Du Xiaofu, Little Xingxing, and the others also saw these demonic beast shadows. They looked at each other. Holy shit! Du Xiaofu cursed inwardly. They were really unlucky to encounter dozens of these strange demonic beast shadows. Run! Without any hesitation, Du Xiaofu and Little Xingxing had already rushed out while the experts of the Sun family were still in shock and fear. Their figures fled as fast as lightning. Hurry up, we'll be in trouble if we encounter more of these energy demonic beast shadows. Sun Quang's expression changed as he shouted to the experts of the Sun family behind him. With so many strange energy demonic beast shadows here, it would be troublesome if they encountered more of them. Roar, Ao! These energy demonic beast shadows stared at Du Xiaofu and the others. They immediately roared crazily and chased after them. In an instant, dozens of these strange demonic beast shadows began to attack, making it impossible for them to escape. Damn it, do you really think we're afraid of you? Ao! Du Xiaofu shouted and said to Little Xingxing. Hurry up and finish them off as soon as possible, lest we attract more of them. Roar! As his voice fell, Du Xiaofu's eyes darkened, and the power of thunder spread out from his body at lightning speed. Walala! Golden flames surged as Little Xingxing attacked. The blazing golden flames burned the void. There was no need for Sun Quang's ancestor and Sun Qin to take action. Under Little Xingxing and Du Xiaofu's quick battle, these strange energy demonic beast shadows were directly destroyed one by one. Ao! Ao! Roar! 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 After Du Xiaofu killed the last intentional energy demonic beast phantom, a series of shocking and deafening roars once again came from the distant void, resounding from afar and nearing. There are more and more of them. Hurry up and leave. Roar! Why are there so many strange things here? Roar! Sun Quang's, Sun Qin's, and the others' faces changed greatly. Hurry up and leave! Du Xiaofu and Little Xingxing shouted and ran away. The expressions of the experts of the Sun family changed. They recovered and quickly left, not daring to stay for a moment. Their figures disappeared like lightning. At this moment, everyone sped up. Although their speed was extremely fast, it was at the cost of consumption. Doing anything here would consume more energy. Chapter 2408. It seems to be safer now. Finally, a moment later, Du Xiaofu, Little Xingxing, and the others appeared on top of a mountain. The strange demonic beast phantoms behind them seemed to have been shaken off further and further away. Some of the Sun Clan experts were panting heavily, still in a state of shock. Du Xiaofu took a deep breath and looked around. Their field of vision was already extremely wide. Look, what's that? Sun Qin's voice rang out. When everyone heard this, they immediately looked over and saw that at the end of their field of vision, there was a slight fluctuation that distorted the void. The distorted space caused everyone's heartbeat to accelerate. When they looked over carefully, they discovered that the space was violently distorting, emitting a hua-hua sound that resembled flowing water. As this sound spread out, the fluctuations in the space became more and more intense. That's lightning energy! It's the power of lightning! Ah! Sun Wu and the other experts from the Sun Clan exclaimed. After carefully looking at the spatial ripple in the distant space, their eyes were immediately filled with shock. A bright red color quietly rose within their eyes. Even their breathing had become much rougher. The spatial fluctuations in front of them were actually a large patch of lightning runes that covered the sky. The hua-la-la sound was not a spatial fluctuation, but an endless stream of resplendent lightning arcs that directly tore apart space. Hua-la-la! Amidst the strange sound of electric arcs, the mysterious runes of the lightning symbol puppet rippled like a vast ocean. Du Xiaofu's eyes narrowed slightly as he stared at the distorted space in front of him. Immediately, he felt an extremely terrifying energy ripple from the bottom of his heart. This energy ripple caused Du Xiaofu to feel extreme panic, but also a familiar feeling. Immediately after, the lightning martial veins in Du Xiaofu's body surged, covering his entire body in an instant, as if they were about to burst out of his body. There's another change! At the same time, Du Xiaofu's primordial spirit once again probed into the cosmos sac in Tianwu Academy. This time, it was actually emitting a visible glow. Du Xiaofu took out his Qianquan bag. The talisman engravings on the Qianquan bag began to fluctuate and emit an ancient light. It seemed to be attracted by the lightning talisman. "Father, there seems to be a building inside," little Xingxing spoke. His gaze was focused on the lightning runes in the distant space. His field of vision was already extremely vast. The lightning runes rippled like a stormy sea. It was impossible to see the end of it with a single glance. It was extremely frightening. Everyone focused their eyes and carefully looked ahead. Only then did they discover that in the vast space of lightning that covered the sky, there was a huge silhouette that was like a mountain peak. It was like an incomparably huge building. That building was terrifyingly huge. Through the ripples of the lightning runes, one could vaguely sense an ancient and desolate aura spreading out from it. It was as if a monstrous ferocious beast was crawling in the air. As the lightning runes flickered, everyone who looked at it felt their hearts tremble. Their scalps turned numb, and their primordial spirits palpitated. Looking at the huge building that was enveloped by the lightning runes and the ancient and desolate aura, the members of the Sun clan looked at each other in dismay. The same thought appeared in their minds at the same time. They had encountered so much danger all the way here. There was definitely a supreme treasure and a huge opportunity in this terrifying place, and the treasure and opportunity must be inside. Could it be related to Tianwu Academy? Du Xiaofu frowned at this moment. Looking at the silhouette of the building in the space of lightning, a feeling of insignificance rose in his heart. The reaction from the cosmos sac in his hand made Du Xiaofu feel that this place might be related to Tianwu Academy. However, Du Xiaofu couldn't understand. This was the heaven burial wasteland. How could it be related to Tianwu Academy? Du Xiaofu didn't think too much about it, but he felt that this place was definitely related to Tianwu Academy. What a powerful aura! It's definitely not ordinary ahead. It won't be easy to enter. Sun Wu sighed. Although he suspected that there might be precious treasures and enormous opportunities inside, he also understood that if he wanted to enter, it wouldn't be difficult for him to sense the terrifying pressure emanating from the lightning talisman symbols, even though he was still very far away. Who left behind such a majestic aura in such a place? Some of the experts from the Sun clan exclaimed in shock. Father, there must be supreme treasures and opportunities inside. We're going to be rich this time. Father! Only little Xingxing, with an absolute smile on his face, very excitedly transmitted his voice to Du Xiaofu's ears, saying, "This should have been left behind by those almighty people. To have set up so many methods, with such a big hand, the things left behind are definitely not ordinary. Father! Don't be careless!" Du Xiaofu reminded little Xingxing. Supreme treasures and opportunities were important, but their lives were more important. They mustn't put themselves in danger. Everyone, I intend to go in and take a look. However, I'm afraid that it will be extremely dangerous inside. I might not be able to protect all of you. It's up to you whether you want to enter or not. Du Xiaofu said to old ancestor Sun Wu and the others. The reaction from the cosmos sac in his hand was definitely related to Tianwu Academy. No matter what, he had to go in and take a look. Besides, the lightning rune space might pose a fatal threat to others, but it wasn't much of a threat to him. However, the dangers inside were unknown. Du Xiaofu was afraid that he wouldn't be able to protect the experts of the Sun clan. Rock Emperor, please go ahead. Thank you for your help. Old ancestor Sun Wu cupped his fists. He understood that if it wasn't for the help of the young man in front of him, the Sun clan would have lost many experts. He was already extremely grateful. Roar! At this moment, as soon as old ancestor Sun Wu finished speaking, a few loud roars came from behind him. Swoosh, swoosh! Everyone looked over in shock. They were afraid that the strange energy shadows were chasing after them. Fortunately, it was a few figures rushing over. They seemed to be trying to shake off the strange demonic beasts chasing after them. The few figures landed. When they saw Du Xiaofu, Sun Wu, and the others, they couldn't help but reveal a joyful expression. The Jiang clan. The corners of Du Xiaofu's mouth twitched. He didn't expect that the Jiang family would be the first to arrive here. However, looking at the Jiang family's lineup, it seemed that only Jian Yeting, a Saint Realm cultivator, and a few others were left. All of them were injured and looked battered and exhausted. The rest of them might have already died. What's that? When Jian Yeting and the others arrived and saw Du Xiaofu, Sun Kuei, and the others, they secretly heaved a sigh of relief when they sensed that the strange energy demonic beast phantoms behind them didn't chase after them. Then, they looked at the space filled with electric light that blotted out the sky and paled in fright under the pressure. Whoosh whoosh, in the sky, a few more figures landed. They were from the Beast Alliance, and their cultivation wasn't weak. However, they were also in a sorry state. It seemed that they were also being chased by the demonic beasts and spiritual beasts. When they landed, they saw the movement in front of them and were tongue-tied. "Little star, let's go!" Du Xiaofu said. He couldn't keep protecting the Sun clan. He leaped up and immediately rushed towards the space where the lightning runes fluctuated. "Let's go! Go!" Seeing this, someone immediately followed. At this point, the treasure was probably right in front of them. The shocking lightning space was definitely the destination of this space. They didn't want to miss it. "Everyone wait here. I'll go take a look," old ancestor Sun Wu said. He was unwilling to go in, but he knew that it was a dangerous place. He asked Sun Qin and the others to wait outside while he went in alone. Then, he also leaped up and rushed towards the lightning space. Whoosh whoosh! The experts from the Beast Alliance who were riddled with injuries were unwilling to be left behind. They quickly followed and stopped a few dozen feet away from the lightning runes. Du Xiaofu was also standing in front of the lightning runes that covered the sky and earth. He raised his eyes and looked at it. The lightning space was even larger. At a glance, the lightning space seemed to cover the sky and the sun, enveloping the entire void. Zi-la-la! The palpitating lightning arcs seemed to pour down from the 9 heavens. Under the shocking destructive aura, the spirits of the weaker creatures who were slightly closer to it trembled. They felt an invisible pressure that made their hair stand on end and their hearts palpitate. Rumble! Rumble! Lightning runes fluctuated, distorting the space and faintly emitting rumbling sounds. As the rumbling sounds spread, the space in front of them fluctuated violently. The astonishing might of the thunder made the hearts of the nearby living creatures quicken, and all of them were filled with astonishment. Quietly, there were still living creatures that continued to approach. When they looked at the vast lightning symbol space, their eyes quietly turned scarlet red. Even their breathing had become a lot rougher. With such a huge expenditure, it was likely that there was an absolute treasure within. Sizzle, lightning flashed and thunder rumbled. Amidst the sizzling sound of the strange electric arcs, the unceasing electric arcs were accompanied by the resplendent lightning runes. The electric arcs directly tore apart the space. Everyone felt an extremely terrifying energy fluctuation from the bottom of their hearts. This kind of fluctuation made them feel extreme panic, and their souls tremble. Looking at the vast lightning space, all the creatures felt their hearts palpitate. Even Saint Realm cultivators were like this. It was no wonder that this strange spatial seal was used to conceal it. Such a vast lightning space was shocking no matter where it was. What kind of treasure is hidden inside? Little Xingxing raised his eyes and licked his lips with a faint golden flame burning in his eyes. Looking at the frightening lightning space in front of him, a huge silhouette like a mountain peak vaguely appeared in the space. It was an incomparably huge building. This huge building was tall and majestic. Through the lightning-ruined space, it spread an ancient, desolate aura. It made people feel as if they were facing an ancient, super-ferocious beast that was sleeping. Looking at it would make people's hearts go numb, and their primordial spirit beast souls palpitate. This gave Du Xiaofu a feeling that the inside of the huge building was the real dangerous place. It was much more terrifying than the lightning space in front of him. And this kind of building that made people and primordial spirit beast souls terrified. Everyone looked at each other, and the same thought appeared in their minds at the same time. There must be a treasure inside this terrifying door. This should be the mansion of an ancient almighty expert. Sun Wu stepped forward alone and looked in front of him with a shocked expression. This place, how do we get in? Little Xingxing said. Do we force our way in? Let me take a look, there's no hurry. No hurry! Du Xiaofu stared at the space of thunder and lightning in front of him. The thunder martial vein in his body seemed to be itching to give it a try. Under the thunder martial vein, there seemed to be a place where the thunder and lightning were relatively weaker. He could vaguely see an entrance. Whoosh whoosh. At this moment, some people could no longer hold back and began to try to move forward. Their cultivations were not ordinary. There was a peak master realm monster beast and an early saint realm cultivator who looked like a wandering cultivator. They set up a protective halo of profound energy around their bodies, and began to carefully and tentatively move forward. They moved forward slowly, and every step they took was done with extreme caution. Rumble, rumble, rumble. But just when the two of them were dozens of feet away from the lightning runes, lightning suddenly flashed and thunder rumbled in the sky. Dazzling lightning bolts struck down from the sky. The lightning runes went berserk. Lightning flashed and thunder rumbled in their ears. They condensed into arm-sized lightning bolts that fell at a speed that was almost impossible to see with the naked eye. Everything happened too fast. When the two of them felt the dazzling lightning approaching them, they quickly wanted to escape but found that it was already too late. Rumble! Rumble, rumble! With a loud bang, the thunderbolt landed on the protective halo. Immediately, electric arcs exploded. Dazzling electric arcs flowed, and then the protective halo was destroyed into pieces. A deep hole appeared in the space because of the explosion, and the bodies of the two people were blown to pieces. What a powerful lightning energy! Boom! Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air when they saw that two people had been killed. And one of them was a sage expert. There were still a few experts who had leaped out. But they were scared when they saw that the two people in front of them had been killed in an instant. And they retreated in a hurry. Rumble, rumble. At the same time, the lightning runes broke through the sky and shot out several bolts of lightning. They instantly pierced through the void and landed on the experts who were retreating quickly as if they had a mind of their own. Rumble, rumble. The space exploded and the experts were instantly turned into ashes. Not even their corpses remained and their souls were destroyed. Fortunately, it's not over yet. Sun Kuei's eyes widened as he sucked in a breath of cold air. It doesn't seem to be at the level of the purple gold profound bomb. Du Xiaofu raised his eyes slightly. Although the lightning energy was powerful, its power was far from the level of the purple gold profound bomb. Of course, this kind of power referred to the power of the lightning, not the power of the bombardment at this moment. Du Xiaofu sensed that the thunderbolt power had directly killed those experts. In fact, some experts of the initial stage of the Sage Realm had even been killed. However, he could feel that the thunderbolt power wasn't unstoppable even if he was a little stronger than before. Let's go! Go! Looking at the surrounding sky, Little Star was eager to try. She was not afraid of the lightning rune space. Then let's go together! Let's go! Du Xiaofu's eyes darkened. He was not worried about Little Star. Little Star's strength was naturally unquestionable. No matter what was inside, they had to go. Whoosh whoosh. The figures of the father and daughter immediately swept across the sky and approached the lightning rune space in an instant. All eyes were immediately focused on the father and daughter. Rumble, rumble. Rumble, rumble. Almost at the same time, in the sky, a strange aura suddenly surged. The surrounding space was distorted. Lightning flashed and thunder rumbled in the sky. The wind rose and clouds surged. The whole sky was suddenly covered with bright lightning. It was like a lightning waterfall hanging in the sky. terrifying energy fluctuations spread out from it. The surrounding space, along with the sizzling lightning, cracked inch by inch. At this moment, the surrounding void was occupied by a thundercloud with palpitating lightning. A powerful lightning pressure spread out from it. Far away in the void, at this moment, everyone in the distance felt a chill in their hearts. Retreat! Retreat! The living beings present trembled. They had already exhausted too much of their strength. At the same time, they were also seriously injured. As their expressions changed drastically, they did not dare to be careless. Vast and mighty profound chi once again spread out from within their bodies. Their feet shot out, transforming into numerous afterimages as they hurriedly fled. Within the lightning fluctuations, all of them felt absolute danger, so as to avoid suffering an unexpected calamity. Be careful! Du Xiaofu reminded Little Star. As his voice fell, the bright lightning in the sky had already spread out in an instant. It connected with the lightning-ruined space and seemed to have merged into one. Immediately, countless lightning bolts condensed into a palpitating thunderbolt that smashed down. Rumble, rumble, rumble. Boom! However, at this moment, an overwhelming amount of lightning struck down from the sky, and the entire space was filled with sharp sonic booms. Crackling sounds of electric arcs kept ringing out. Wherever the lightning passed, the space would collapse with a loud rumble. The bright lightning carried a destructive force as it bombarded Du Xiaofu and Little Star. This momentum was terrifying to the extreme. What's going on? The creatures behind them had originally gasped for Du Xiaofu and Little Star, but they were immediately dumbfounded. They stared at Du Xiaofu and Little Star in surprise. At this moment, the two figures stood in the middle of the bright lightning attack. They did not have any intention of defending at all. The bolts of lightning that could instantly destroy an early saint beast seemed to have no effect when they struck the two of them, other than the bright arcs of electricity that overflowed. Freaks! These two people are two freaks! Everyone sucked in their breath. They're only SOSO. They're much easier to deal with than those strange demonic beast phantoms. Little Star raised her eyebrows. She was surrounded by electricity, but she was not damaged at all. The lightning did not seem to be able to harm her at all. Du Xiaofu smiled helplessly. Little Star, this girl, was really freakish. She seemed to have a terrifying talent in the primordial spirit. He did not see her cultivate any physical strength, but her physical body was also very freakish. As the daughter of the dragon god, she was indeed different. Fortunately, when the lightning struck Du Xiaofu's body, Du Xiaofu was not injured at all. The lightning turned into electric power and surged into his body. Although the impact was huge, it did not cause any damage to Du Xiaofu's body. Du Xiaofu had already achieved the indestructible Xian body. His physical body had been forged by the purple gold Xian thunder. At this moment, the lightning martial vein in Du Xiaofu's body quietly moved, directly devouring the electric power that surged into his body. It can really strengthen the lightning martial vein and absorb it for my own use. The corner of Du Xiaofu's mouth lifted into a faint smile. As he had expected, the electric power could be directly absorbed by the lightning martial vein in his body. While strengthening the lightning martial vein, it could also be directly transformed into pure Xian Qi and poured into his celestial watchtower. Don't miss it! Amidst the lightning and thunder, Du Xiaofu raised his head. His black hair was scattered, and his clear eyes gradually surged with electric light. For no reason, an indescribable majesty spread out, and the lightning martial vein in his body was immediately revealed. Rumble! In an instant, a mysterious rune spread out and turned into a net of light that covered his entire body. An ancient pressure and aura caused the experts in the distance to tremble all over. They couldn't help but want to prostrate themselves. This terrifying aura made people feel as if they were facing a king that could not be resisted. A domineering killing intent rippled through the sky. What a terrifying martial vein again! Jiang Yeting, Sun Qin, and the others' eyes darkened. Rumble! Suddenly, thunderclouds gathered in the void. There was a rumbling sound of thunder, and purple lightning wreaked havoc. An aura that caused one's soul to palpitate abruptly rippled and spread out in this space. It continued to spread into the distance, causing all living beings to feel fear. This aura was undoubtedly much more terrifying than the lightning aura from the lightning rune. This lightning aura was not because Du Xiaofu was strong, but because of the lightning aura itself. The lightning martial vein's aura was far more vast than the lightning rune space's aura. The lightning martial vein's aura was like the sovereign of lightning. The sound of thunder resounded, and the entire void trembled. The extremely shocking killing aura fluctuated, and the purple lightning seemed to have transformed into countless spiritual snakes that shuttled through the void, causing people's hair to stand on end and their hearts to feel a chill. At this moment, Du Xiaofu was like the god of thunder, able to punish all living beings in the world and kill all living beings in the world. When the lightning martial vein was activated, a huge suction force immediately spread out, rushing into the sky and devouring the lightning rune space. Rumble! Rumble! The lightning rune space above the void immediately seemed to be attracted by the suction force, and it immediately fluctuated violently, turning into a large number of terrifying purple lightning bolts that rushed out. Under the rumbling sound of thunder, a large number of dazzling lightning arcs descended from the sky. Sizzle! The dazzling lightning arcs exploded from the lightning rune space like countless bombs. They fell from the sky with destructive power, and then directly landed on Du Xiaofu's body. The dazzling lightning that could destroy everything fell on Du Xiaofu's body, but then disappeared into Du Xiaofu's body and was finally absorbed by his body. At this moment, Du Xiaofu's purple lightning body, which was wrapped in the lightning martial vein, was like a bottomless pit, absorbing an endless amount of lightning power. At this moment, Du Xiaofu's lightning martial veins surged and covered his entire body. The blazing lightning around his body was like a rising sun, greedily absorbing the mighty lightning power. As he absorbed the terrifying lightning power, Du Xiaofu's aura began to strengthen in a rather slow manner. Chapter 2409. The vast lightning rune space covered the sky. Even an early-stage Saint Realm cultivator would be instantly blasted apart. However, at this moment, the terrifying lightning seemed to belong to Du Xiaofu. The terrifying lightning energy entered his body and strengthened Du Xiaofu. His aura began to rise. Rumble! Lightning flashed, and thunder rumbled in the sky. Du Xiaofu had already risen into the air. His entire body was covered in lightning. His supreme aura was spreading, as if he wanted to suppress the heavens and earth. Du Xiaofu had already experienced the benefits of absorbing the power of thunder and lightning. When he saw the thunder and lightning gathering in the void, he made up his mind right from the start. Naturally, he chose to swallow and absorb it without hesitation. At this moment, it seemed to be because of the thunder martial vein. At this moment, the experts in the distance were all trembling with fear. They were dumbstruck and their gazes were trembling as they watched everything. He's absorbing the power of lightning for his own use. The experts of the Sun family trembled, and their eyes turned red. Unbelievable martial vein! A few experts of the Jiang family gasped. Everyone knew that Du Xiaofu was already in the Saint Realm. However, after absorbing the lightning energy, Du Xiaofu's strength was increasing at a speed visible to the naked eye. This speed was too unacceptable. This was the most abnormal of the abnormal. The lightning rune space was vast and boundless. It covered the sky and the sun. It was as if the clouds in the sky were pouring down from the 9 heavens. Du Xiaofu could not absorb it. An endless stream of bright lightning was being absorbed by the thunder martial vein in Du Xiaofu's body. At this moment, the lightning energy was being absorbed by Du Xiaofu's thunder martial vein. Du Xiaofu could clearly feel that the thunder martial vein was changing and strengthening. This lightning energy was like the nourishment of the thunder martial vein. However, it was a pity that the lightning energy could strengthen the thunder martial vein. It was the nourishment of the thunder martial vein, but the effect was not as good as the spirit thunder. Of course, Du Xiaofu didn't mind. This was already very good. Is this guy going to devour all the lightning energy? Some experts were flabbergasted. How vast was that lightning rune space? Could it be that this abnormal fellow was going to devour it all? As time passed, the thunder martial vein in Du Xiaofu's body was still absorbing the power of the lightning like a bottomless pit. Little Xingxing had already retreated to the side. Roar! A moment later, as the lightning-ruined space wriggled, dazzling arcs of lightning suddenly surged within the lightning-ruined space. As the arcs of lightning shot into the sky, the roar of a beast resounded. Suddenly, a lightning elemental beast whose entire body was covered in dazzling electric arcs and whose head was like a wolf's or a flood dragon's emerged from the sea of lightning in a terrifying manner, bringing with it a sky full of dazzling electric arcs and destructive lightning energy that shook the space. The dazzling lightning elemental beast rushed out. It was incomparably huge, and its head soared into the sky. A terrifying beast roar spread out from its hideous mouth like a thunderclap from the ninth heaven. Rumble! Just the roar of the lightning elemental beast alone was enough to cause the primordial spirit of an ordinary domain-realm creature to explode. Rumble! The appearance of the lightning elemental beast caused the surrounding lightning rune arcs to suddenly explode as if countless bombs had been thrown in. Thunderous sounds resounded continuously within the lightning rune space. Electric arcs overflowed in all directions as dazzling lightning runes surged wildly. As the lightning elemental beast rushed out, Du Xiaofu's lightning elemental eyes trembled inwardly. The lightning elemental beast was at least tens of thousands of feet tall. Its eyes were filled with electric arcs, as if they contained two seas of lightning and exuded a destructive aura. Du Xiaofu inwardly raised his brows as the enormous lightning elemental beast stared intently at him. The aura of this lightning elemental beast was likely comparable to that of an advanced saint beast. He did not know how it was born. It was so terrifying. When such a lightning elemental beast stared at him with its ferocious lightning elemental eyes, Du Xiaofu felt as if two enormous lightning elemental black holes had descended and enveloped him. However, at this moment, the lightning elemental beast seemed to have sensed Du Xiaofu's lightning martial vein. An instinctive fear secretly surged out from within. However, the lightning elemental beast continued to roar like a thunderclap. Its ferocious lightning elemental eyes continued to stare fiercely at Du Xiaofu. There was only madness and destruction left in its eyes. An extremely violent energy fluctuation spread out from within its enormous body. Chi-la! The lightning elemental beast's ferocious head rushed out and directly charged at Du Xiaofu. It opened its ferocious mouth and wanted to devour Du Xiaofu. The terrifying energy rushed over and immediately froze the surrounding void. Boom! Boom! Without any hesitation, Du Xiaofu directly shattered the void with a punch and instantly collided with the lightning elemental beast's head. The lightning elemental beast was not afraid at all. It directly spewed out a dazzling destructive thunderbolt from its mouth and destroyed Du Xiaofu's punch. Its ferocious head was faster than lightning and instantly enveloped a large area. Like a giant serpent pouncing on its prey, it bit down on the space around Du Xiaofu. It's a little special. Du Xiaofu was surprised. This lightning elemental beast seemed to be a lot more special than he had imagined. However, with Du Xiaofu's current cultivation and the advantage of his lightning martial vein, he did not pay too much attention to it. His figure immediately retreated and escaped in an instant. Aoo! After failing to devour the human in front of it, the lightning elemental beast's ferocious head turned around and roared again like a thunderclap. Its eyes shone with an ominous light and a look of absolute greed as it stared at Du Xiaofu. It looked like a viper pouncing on its prey, waiting for another effective attack. This guy wants to devour me too. Aoo! Du Xiaofu secretly raised his eyes. From the greedy eyes of the lightning elemental beast, he could feel that it clearly wanted to devour him directly. This made Du Xiaofu smile bitterly to himself. Chi! It was also at this moment that the huge lightning elemental beast launched another attack. It lifted its head and its huge body erupted with dazzling thunderbolts. Its head, which was like a giant serpent, charged directly at Du Xiaofu again. Du Xiaofu looked at the lightning elemental beast that launched another attack. A terrifying pressure had already solidified the vast void. Destructive and majestic lightning energy rushed towards him. Lightning runes covered the void, making one's spirit tremble. Aoo! The lightning elemental beast's roar distorted the space. The destructive lightning energy first penetrated the space and enveloped Du Xiaofu. Boom! Aoo! Du Xiaofu moved. The lightning martial vein fused with the tyrannical fist path. A terrifying pressure descended. Purple gold lightning fluctuated, and the aura was terrifying. In an instant, under a shocking explosion of heavenly thunder, the two fiercely collided. Immediately, the rumbling sounds of heavenly thunder resounded endlessly in this vast and strange space. Rumble! The heavenly thunder resounded, and the space exploded. The sky was filled with dazzling arcs of lightning and purple gold lightning. The terrifying energy surged in the vast sky, and lightning runes surged in the void. Aoo! The lightning elemental beast was forced back. In the terrifying collision just now, its ferocious head was not affected much. It only looked at the purple gold runes flashing on Du Xiaofu's body. Its eyes became even more ferocious and greedy. In an instant, it charged again, pouncing towards Du Xiaofu. Evil creature! Aoo! Du Xiaofu's lightning elemental eyes darkened. With his body as the center, waves of purple gold lightning emerged, and instantly filled the surrounding space. The lightning swept across the sky like a rainstorm. Purple silver snakes flashed in the void. A murderous aura spread out, sweeping across the area. From the lightning elemental beast's ferocious mouth, a huge bolt of dazzling lightning fiercely spewed out, sweeping towards Du Xiaofu. The dazzling lightning energy streaked across the space, and the space directly collapsed. A purple gold lightning gathered in Du Xiaofu's palm. With an even more terrifying pressure, they fiercely collided. In an instant, the two thunderbolts collided. The lightning energy exploded, like a dazzling firework, bursting into the vast sky. Rumble! Dazzling lightning runes and purple gold lightning overflowed. Such a collision caused a thunderous explosion to resound in the space. Everyone could see that the purple gold lightning energy activated by Du Xiaofu was clearly stronger. However, it seemed that the lightning would definitely not be easy to deal with in the future. Immediately, the two figures fiercely collided in the resplendent lightning-ruined space. The lightning elemental beast was like a blazing lightning sun, shaking the sky. Du Xiaofu's figure was filled with purple gold lightning, like a lightning god. Little Xingxing had been standing to the side, showing no intention of interfering. Among the experts who had rushed to this place, a thin and small figure was staring at the front, with a hood covering his face. Ayo! After dozens of fierce clashes, the lightning elemental beast's ferocious head suddenly appeared in the sky. In its ferocious mouth, an even more dazzling and destructive lightning energy gathered to form a thunderbolt, erupting in front of Du Xiaofu. In an instant, it had already arrived in front of Du Xiaofu. It's about time! Ayo! Du Xiaofu's expression was calm, and the corners of his mouth curled into a smile. At the same time, bursts of purple lightning had already rushed out from his body, instantly turning into a huge vortex. Rumble! In an instant, the lightning-ruined space violently trembled, and a purple thundercloud gathered out of thin air. Lightning flashed and thunder rumbled, and a large amount of purple lightning hovered in the sky. Its aura was destructive, and rumbling sounds of explosions spread out, causing the surrounding space to tremble incessantly. Sizzle! A large amount of purple lightning raged, as if countless bombs were exploding in the void. At this moment, Du Xiaofu seemed to have activated the Thunderbolt Martial Vein with all his might. This was the Supreme Thunderbolt Martial Vein. The pressure that spread out from the purple Thunderbolt vortex had even surpassed the spiritual thunder at this moment. Gee! An incomparably domineering aura began to seep out from Du Xiaofu's body, and purplish gold light shot out in all directions. It was as if the sun was about to rise in that lightning-ruined world. Resplendent purplish gold lightning radiated for tens of thousands of feet, and it was as if countless purplish gold energy ribbons were pouring down, emitting a blazing radiance. It was also at this moment that an enormous purplish gold golden-winged rock phantom flapped its wings and spiraled out from the blazing purple lightning radiance around Du Xiaofu. It soared into the sky and skyrocketed. The purple gold golden-winged rock screeched, piercing through the clouds and releasing an endless domineering aura. It spread its wings, and purple gold lightning arcs sparkled all over its body. Its ferocious aura covered the sky, as if it was going to soar into the sky, causing this ancient world to tremble. The eyes of the experts trembled violently. The supreme purple gold thunder rock's beast aura spread out, causing the lightning beast to tremble with a loud bang. It's time to end this! The purple gold thunder rock flapped its wings and swept out. It was able to distort space. Its entire body was covered with densely packed purple gold lightning arcs. Finally, it gathered into many enormous purple gold thunderbolts that scattered while the space was being distorted. A mighty, overbearing and intimidating pressure swept out. Finally, it heavily landed on the lightning beast. Ayo! The lightning beast roared, shocking the 9 heavens, and lightning runes shone resplendently. The purple gold rock's lightning arcs exploded, and the lightning arcs wreaked havoc in the vast sky. It was like a purple gold sun in the sky, and a claw mark tore apart space, vast and mighty. The purple gold thunder rock flapped its wings. Although it was just a phantom, it carried the supreme beast aura and domineering will of the real golden-winged rock, and in addition to the lightning martial vein, it suppressed the world. Gee! Gee! The purple gold rock screeched, and its lightning eyes were like 2 purple gold suns. Its huge body flapped its wings, covering heaven and earth, as if it had a life of its own. Its supreme aura was inextinguishable, and its battle intent soared to the heavens, suppressing the ancient era. All the creatures trembled. This was a true supreme being, looking down on the world, showing disdain for the past and present. Space was exploding, and the light was so bright that it was hard to open one's eyes. Under the terrifying power, many of the experts in the surroundings had already collapsed to the ground. Amidst the resplendent electric arcs and the purple lightning vortex, Du Xiaofu's figure traversed space and appeared. He stepped on the ferocious head of the strange lightning beast. His fist, which was covered with lightning martial veins, was like a purple gold lightning ball as it landed heavily. The purple gold lightning was filled with punishment, and its aura was like that of a supreme being of lightning. Rumble! Rumble! Under Du Xiaofu's fist, the lightning beast wailed miserably, and its eyes surged with shock. Then, it directly cracked, and a destructive and violent energy spread out, turning into a dazzling lightning rune that swept out like a tsunami. In an instant, the purple lightning vortex around Du Xiaofu directly swallowed the lightning from the lightning beast. The dazzling lightning wave was very powerful and violent, but after falling into the purple lightning vortex, it was directly swallowed and absorbed, causing the vast lightning rune space to ripple, as if it had turned into a dazzling pool of lightning. Crash! At this moment, the lightning rune space that covered the sky seemed to be invisibly drawn by some invisible force, and crazily surged towards the lightning vortex around Du Xiaofu. The violent and destructive lightning disappeared as soon as it came into contact with the lightning vortex around Du Xiaofu, and immediately disappeared into Du Xiaofu's body. Rumble! The void trembled violently, and it was so deafening that it hurt and made one's mind dizzy. Countless dazzling lightning bolts flashed, and the huge lightning bolts converged into lightning bolts that danced wildly, sweeping towards Du Xiaofu from all directions. At this moment, Du Xiaofu's body was like a bottomless pit, and he was not affected at all by the lightning bolts that flashed through the sky. Oh my God! All the experts present were dumbfounded. It was visible to the naked eye that the lightning rune space that covered the sky was weakening and shrinking. Although it was still erupting with dazzling lightning bolts that covered the sky, it was clearly weakening. Du Xiaofu's body gradually started to swell up. He fully activated his thunder martial vein. It was like countless purple spirit snakes were shuttling through the air. The purple thunder vortex continued to devour the berserk lightning energy of the thunder talisman space. Rumble! Rumble! The purple whirlpool devoured the thunder power contained in those spell symbols. Large amounts of purple thunderbolts spread out from the whirlpool, and a loud rumbling noise could be heard coming from the air. The strongest power of execution was released from the whirlpool, spreading across the sky. An ancient aura spread out from Du Xiaofu's body, and the aura that made one's primordial spirit palpitate continued to spread into the distance of this vast and strange space. In the end, Du Xiaofu was wrapped in dazzling purple lightning bolts and lightning runes. Gradually, he was wrapped in dazzling lightning runes, and gradually, he looked like a huge lightning ball in the void. While all the creatures were shocked, the lightning rune space that covered the sky in front of them was gradually swallowed up. However, a thunder sun appeared in the void in front of them, and it was dazzling and gradually shrinking. In the end, under everyone's gaze, the dazzling lightning disappeared, and Du Xiaofu's figure appeared, standing quietly with his eyes closed. Not long after, Du Xiaofu's eyes, which were surging with lightning, were like two bright suns shining in the sky. Sizzle! Sizzle! Two beams of lightning shot up into the sky from Du Xiaofu's eyes. Finally, they shot into the void, bringing with them purple lightning. It was as if countless bombs were exploding at the same time, causing everyone's eardrums to hurt, their minds to become dizzy, and their hearts to tremble in fear. He must have benefited greatly. Sizzle! Sun Kuei, Sun Qin, Jian Yating, and the others all looked up and trembled. They couldn't help but exclaim in shock. At that moment, that frightening young man was actually, before the eyes of the crowd, using such a tyrannical and valiant method to directly devour the power of lightning to strengthen himself while everyone was trembling in fear. All of this had happened at the Saint Realm. No matter how talented a Saint Realm expert was, it would be difficult for them to make any substantial progress even after thousands of years of cultivation. But now, that purple-robed youth had improved so easily. Many experts were shocked, including Sun Kuei and the other saints. They were all a little dejected from the blow. This was simply too much for them to live. I wonder what level this kid has reached, and how much progress he has made. Sun Kuei was very surprised. At this moment, that guy seemed to be deliberately hiding his aura, so he couldn't sense it. However, he was sure that in just a short while, he had devoured all the lightning energy in that terrifying lightning rune space. That kid's progress was definitely not simple. Du Xiaofu restrained himself at this moment. Only Du Xiaofu himself knew that swallowing the power of thunder and lightning in this space had brought him enormous benefits. However, a lot of it had been consumed in the thunder martial vein. Moreover, he had also seized the opportunity to plunder a lot of spiritual thunder from his primordial spirit in his mud pill palace. Therefore, he had made some progress in his cultivation. However, his cultivation had already entered the late stage of the Sage Realm at this moment. So, he needed a vast amount of energy to make a breakthrough. This space of thunder and lightning was enormous. However, he was still far away from the peak of the late stage of the Sage Realm. Father, this is the entrance. Little star. Little Xingxing's voice came. As the lightning space disappeared, a huge stone door appeared in front of them. Behind the stone door was a deep abyss, as if one couldn't see the end of it. The lightning in Du Xiaofu's eyes disappeared, and he stared at the huge and towering stone door. It was so huge that it made people speechless. A desolate and ancient aura spread out, making people feel as if there was a monstrous ferocious beast behind this huge stone door. It made people not dare to cross it. Father, it's not simple. Little Xingxing's small eyes moved. The aura inside made her somewhat fearful. Be careful. Don't be careless. Du Xiaofu said softly. Whoosh! Whoosh! A fluctuation came from behind. Several figures had already jumped over. As the lightning rune space was devoured by Du Xiaofu, those experts were no longer afraid and came over one after another. Du Xiaofu looked back and frowned slightly. After devouring the lightning rune space, he had unknowingly solved a big problem for everyone. Escape. However, now was not the time. After getting the treasure, everything could be dealt with. As those experts approached, their gazes fell on the huge stone door. The desolate and ancient aura made them feel uneasy. The lightning power has been destroyed. We can go in and look for the treasure. Seeing that the lightning rune space had been destroyed, everyone's profound energy surged out and instantly rushed over. Father! We should go in too. Little Xingxing came to Du Xiaofu's side. Seeing that someone had already gone in, she became somewhat anxious. Let's go. As his voice fell, a golden profound energy light flashed under Du Xiaofu's feet, and he immediately jumped into the stone door. The space inside the stone door was not small. Many figures appeared in front of him, and they all rushed forward. Du Xiaofu did not want to fall behind. He rushed forward, and in almost the blink of an eye, he rushed through the stone door. Then, he slowed down a little. The stone door was not very long, and he just jumped out of the stone door a few times. What a big move! Wow! When he rushed out of the door, Du Xiaofu looked at the scene in front of him in amazement. It was an astonishingly huge palace, towering and magnificent. However, at this moment, in front of this huge palace, it was impossible to see the whole picture of this huge palace. No one knew how big this huge palace was, but it was not difficult to estimate that the vast area in front of him was just the tip of the iceberg. There were already creatures in front of him, and they looked around in amazement. Around the huge palace, there were many corridors, and they did not know where they extended to. There were many passages on both sides, and at this moment, there were already many experts who had rushed in, and they began to rush into those corridors and passages. One after another, they entered one room after another. It's a martial technique, an ancient martial technique. God! Oh my God! Is this an immemorial sacred artifact? Wow! Immemorial elixir, this is a great opportunity! Suddenly, many people rushed out of the rooms in the huge palace. Some lucky experts had already found the treasure. You're tuning into the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.